this platform is independent, and we wanted to work with everyone across the spectrum. So folks are invited to share what they know, and the viewers makes their choice, and we give the opportunity to answer.
It's craziness. Man, I do not care. Why am I so anti-establishment? Because of what I've seen the establishment do to people. That's why I cannot be pro-establishment.
Power is in the hands of the people. And it really did. What we all witnessed is the government, they knew that they're heading in the wrong direction. They knew Gambians are speaking in the same voice.
What law in the books that says the government has power to come out and go after folks' private citizens' properties and demolish them because somehow the government interest?
The only way that we can salvage our country is when everybody that gets their hand dirty. Don't sit there with your expertise and just to procrastinate everything that people say or pontificate, what everybody says or does. Let's get our hands dirty.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Another Sunday for the people, by the people. Brother Marong, and of course, my main man from the capital, Washington, D.C.
From the nation's capital. You have to say it right.
Brother man, it's good to see you. At least today you will not be kind of coming in and out. I mean, Jaharang 20. We are going to be in the back and forth. I'm going to jump and then kind of disappear. But I mean, it's good to see you. In Brother Marong.
Yes, sir.
What's going on in Seattle, Vancouver?
No, in Vancouver, it's been raining, man.
Yeah.
Just raining since last night, man. Continuous rain.
Yeah. Well, another Sunday. Politics of last week, as everybody is talking about 2026, and we're like almost 13 months away. I can't even believe it. That's a long time. There are going to be a lot of turns here and there. Everybody is talking about the movement.
Which movement is that?
The new kid on the block. The movement, the Gambian people, yearning for change, yearning the very change that we've been talking about, going all the way back to 2016 when we sent Jammeh Parking, and we're still on that journey. Pap Samba, how we doing, my brother?
Well, we're doing fine. I don't know about your movement and what everybody is talking about, but it is it's okay to live in La La Land, I guess. What I know, though, whether it's your movement or any other avenue, Gambia really needs to change because definitely the status quo cannot be sustained and must not continue. If not for anything, we cannot continue to have self-perpetuating rule, endlessly. And I think that is one motivation that I have in this. I'm not interested in making anybody a president. But I don't think Barrow should succeed himself for the interest of the Gambia and the Gambian people. And especially, not only the maladministration, what happened, especially giving the reports that we getting from the Supreme Court on this firing of the AG, the Auditor General. But the country is not moving. Now, they will tell you all this nonsense, the roads and all these things, but the suffering of our people continue. And that is an irrefutable fact. And I hope that, if anything, things need to change for the better. But Musa, before we get into that, I just wanted to, there is one of the most known or renowned politicians in Africa. in Raila Odinga of Kenya died. And I think it was because Raila, even if you don't follow politics very well, everybody knows Raila.
Yeah.
Whose father was an opposition to Jomo Kenyatta. And then he became an opposition to Moi, to Kibaki, to Kenyatta, and to what's the guy's name now? The hustler, that's the president name right now. And he's Ruto. But he's been very consistent in fighting.
Right.
And he is a different type of politician to the ones that we have in the Gambia. Because Raila, I was just talking at his tweet that I retweeted a few years ago, where he was announcing a mass protest, because he had no problem bringing his people out in the streets and all that. But as I was watching, videos of his life and all that stuff, I came across one video, two videos anyway. The first one was where the former president Kenyatta organized a national meeting or so, and invited the vice president Ruto, invited Raila, and invited another person. And what Jomo Kenyatta said, what Kenyatta said was, I have said a lot of things about you. You've also said a lot of things about me. Some of them are bad, some of them are hurtful. And I just wanted to stand here before the whole nation and tell you I apologize for that. And Ruto did the same thing. They embraced. And that's what you talk about.
I remember this few years ago.
And it was so nice, and people appreciate, because these are people who were very, very bitter rivals. And sometimes this political rivalry, it also affects the people, the population Simopam, to where they feel they are part of it, and it brings hatred. But when you see that, at least it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's not that serious.
Yeah.
But the other video was Raila's daughter, Winnie, whom I believe was named definitely after Winnie Mandela, was talking about her father. And what she said was, the dad used to leave very early in the morning and would not come home until after 11 o'clock at night. So she would, because of where her room was, she could see when the dad comes in. So she would force herself to stay up just to see the dad. So one day, Mulai Papa Mneko, why do you always stay so late? Muneko, I'll show you. So he took her to one rally. And when they went to the rally, they were all jumping and this thing, people were coming. She became scared, because now all of a sudden she's exposed to this. Now her dad is being treated like this demigod. And the dad was, do not be scared. These are your people. These are your family. This is your family. And said to her, if you feel that you need something good, these people deserve better. Whatever you need, these people that you see deserve better than that. And she said that stuck with her up to today. But again, I just wanted to extend my condolences to all my Kenyan friends. And definitely, Raila was something else. And I know Kenya would definitely miss him, massively, Musa and Ariane.
So that was your thing about Raila, no doubt.
Raila.
Condolences to, like you, the people of Kenya. They've definitely lost a hero.
What do you mean, like you? I love Raila though, but go ahead.
The way you articulate it today, I'm not top of my game.
So, why? Are you guys losing steam?
Who is losing steam?
No, go ahead. Your movement.
No, I woke very late last night. We had the Sierra Leoneans. They had an event. They have another organization, raising funds to help healthcare in Sierra Leone. That is very common now. Diasporans raising funds to deal with issues like education and healthcare. Brother Marong.
Paramos.
Yes, sir.
What's going on?
Hey, Pasamba, how is the game going? It looks like Man United.
We are not talking about the game until it's over.
Like they say, it ain't over till it's over.
Yep, until the fat lady sings. So let's wait and see.
Maliki Mom, tell us Sunny Day, when we're here to defend the UDP against Mr. Jeng's propaganda. Mr. Combo Mom, he's not even.
Thank you, Maliki. That's the spirit.
The direct assault, and I have been. And I think I'm going to talk about that.
Well, why not just Sari and just continue before you talk about anything?
Yeah, I'm waiting for him.
Coach, thank you very much, and hello to our viewers and listeners around the globe and within the diaspora. And yes, condolences to the people of Kenya. And I wanted to, amplify what Coach just mentioned. I think it's very, very important. We can have different views about how we run our country. We can belong to different parties. At the end of the day, we cannot be rivals, where up to a point we can't even see eye to eye and discuss about issues that impact the overall good of our country. I think it's very, very important. Politics is about persuasion. If you have ideas, lay it out there. Talk to people and get them on your side. Win their minds and hearts. But it doesn't need to result to personal attacks, insults, and personal vindictiveness. So I think that's totally uncalled for. So I think it's a lesson to learn, and we're heading into the political season. It's going to be very heated. But I think all of us need to exercise some restraint and talk about issues. Our country, as Coach said, the mistake we will have is sit down there and get at each other's throat. And the man who doesn't deserve to be there for another 5 years, to give him the opportunity to slide under the radar. I think it's totally, it would be disingenuous to all of us who love Gambia, who've been fighting for Gambia, who wants to see a better Gambia. The status quo is unsustainable. It's the truth. Every single day you have some type of, scandals, some type of stuff that will come out, and that is not so pleasant. And we cannot continue through this path. So, with that, as I said, we'll continue to speak for a better change, not per se to replace the president, but to have someone who's going to be accountable, who have the foresight to move Gambia in a different direction, total different direction, not business as usual. I think that is very, very important. Attacking.
Thank you very much. Maliki Kombo's comment kind of reminded me about Sariang, Brother Marong. I saw a couple of audios, obviously with my name written across. Since I came out very aggressively supporting the movement that I believe can bring the change that we've yearned for, going all the way back, even to the early 2000s, fighting Jammeh. And since I made that announcement, and these are not comments that I haven't heard before, that the only reason that Musa Jeng now is supporting the movement under the leadership of Talib Bensouda is because he's a hater of the United Democratic Party. That, oh yeah, Musa Jengla, that's what we expect. He actually never liked His Excellency A&M Dabo. They want people to believe that that's the reason why he is supporting the movement. And I want to interrogate that. And I want to show people that that is not true. And I want to take them through a journey. That I hate the United Democratic Party. Pasamba is here. He's my witness. He wouldn't allow me to lie. I hope not. You see, when we went back in the early 2000s, and we believed that a critical role we need to play to bring change in the country. When the country couldn't speak, the diaspora was speaking for them. Mandama feke. Now, we came together and we said the only avenue to remove Jammeh and bring the change that we yearn for, that is if we come together. It was not easy. And I'm sure you guys have heard me or Pasamba or somebody else relitigate going back to see, to kind of show people how we got here. During those times, we were talking to different leaders. Good old Omar Amadou Jallo, Mr. Dabo, Halifa Sallah, Wajuara. There were a lot of Sunday meetings being held. We thought if we come together, we can remove Jammeh. It wasn't easy. And we are actually experiencing that same jockeying among leaders. I remember when it got down to who do we think should be the person to lead the coalition, not coalition. Among the group, there were different people supporting different candidates, having different leanings. The Karamba Tourés, Pasamba Jau, Musa Jeng, Bankamane, Ibrahim Diba, you name them. Kuchineka, you have somebody that you support. But we knew that we have to come together in order to be able to remove this guy. Around that time, I was the chairman of Save the Gambia Democracy Project with my colleagues. This was the first time, the first guy was Keba Walifun. I'm in the Kanmowara lead, even within the group itself. I put together a proposal. It was not a very well-received proposal. I have to say this because the idea that I hate the United Democratic Party is not based on facts. All through my journey, fighting for change, my approach has always been with a tint of pragmatism. I put together a proposal and I presented, I said, when everything is said and done, we're better off going with Mr. Dabo and the United Democratic Party. If we don't do that, I don't see us having a coalition. And without a doubt, we have a lot more people lining up, voting for United Democratic Party than any of these other parties. It wasn't well received. There was a pushback. You see, I remember the Joe Sambus of this world. I was accused of being the deal maker. Fatou Jaumane, till today, I remember when she came to our program, was it 2 months ago, she always accused me of Nedama Ragal, the United Democratic Party. Again, it was never about that. I knew at that time that the most pragmatic way of approaching this to bring the leaders together was for Mr. Dabo to lead. Pasamba Fekena, I was accused of everything in the book. Does that sound like someone who hates the party or the man? I did not stop there. Even when NAT disintegrated, whatever we wanted to do did not happen. We went back to 2011. I did not stop there. I went back and said, okay, if we are going to select a leader based on a process, I came up with an idea. Why don't we look at the past elections and the performance of each party? We will allocate delegates based on their performance. Going back to 2001, 2006, this was after 2006, we are looking at 2011. And at that time, clearly, the allocation of delegates would have favored the United Democratic Party. It was not well received. Does that sound like somebody who hates the United Democratic Party? Seriously? It was always about pragmatism. Fast forward, we all came together finally in 2016. Change happened. What we could have done in 2006, unable to do in 2006, it was achieved in 2016. For me, heading to 2021, I did not like the whole thing, how it came out. That each and every one of us, our contribution, the struggle itself, came down to splinter group within the United Democratic Party. And then it was either you have to support an MPP that was a splinter from the United Democratic Party, or you have to support the UDP. And the struggle, all of us contributed to it. I have a problem with that. And that's when people started saying, this guy hates the UDP. Because of a piece that I wrote and said there has to be a third way. Gambian has to be given another option. And that we should use the third option to go after the NPP and the UDP. In a democracy, someone who was part of the struggle, how does that translate into hating the UDP? How? That get me in trouble. Let's just the facts. How does that translate into hating the UDP? I don't see it. I've always have a very cordial, well-respected Mr. Dabo. I've never disrespected him in any way whatsoever. Bichi when they came to Atlanta, there are a lot of people that did not come to that event because they thought it was a UDP event, not more. What I saw, the UDP Atlanta chapter, these are my friends. They know me well. We live in the community together, well respected. Whether it's Kasa, Usman Manjang, Natamas. I work with them. You were there. You were the MC. I worked with them. I pledged whatever little money that I had. I gave them my place to use it. Interestingly, when we were decorating the hall, we didn't have the yellow thing. A special order was made just to make sure that UDP have their event in the best way possible. Does that person deserve to be said he's a hater? I am not. I am not a hater. I was given an opportunity to speak. And I said these things that I said about Mr. Dabo and his sacrifice, what he has done. What I have always said, in 2021, when the third rail thing did not materialize, we are here on the platform. Banker would always say, there is no way UDP is going to win. Man, at that time, I was very careful. I remember Banker always telling me, your antenna is low. Because I used to say, if Barrow leaves the United Democratic Party, he is done. I don't see that happening. Man, that was my position. The 2021 elections, I always used to say, it's going to be close. I remember when Mr. Dabo went to Basse, I wrote something. I'm like, whoa, my brother, I think election be Benet Affairla. I couldn't call it. People used to say, the man couldn't win. I wasn't sure. After the 2021 elections, I continue to say, and I still would say, that I don't think Mr. Dabo can win. Saying that somebody cannot win doesn't translate into you hate the person. I have said Halifa Sallah cannot win. I have said Esafal cannot win. It's my opinion. I could be dead wrong. I have been wrong before. But does that mean that this person hates the person? Because I believe he couldn't win? How many Gambians do believe that? But in India, lots of people from the United Democratic Party, whether it's Kemo Bojang, Yaya Menteng, you name them, Tombong, the people that left, I can guarantee you the reason why they left, the reason is the same as mine. They want change, and they don't think the UDP at its composition with Dabo being the leader, they don't think that can defeat the incumbent. Lolu Moidiga. And that's what I believe. And we could all be wrong. But does that mean I'm a hater? Seriously? Hate can never be in me. Again, like I said, we're all going to have our opinions. Every decision that I make, is because of a tint of pragmatism. I believe a movement, a third way, under the leadership of Talib Ahmed Bensouda, is a very formidable force to confront Barrow in 2026. And Barrow himself knows it. The NPP, they know it. Their reaction will tell you, Te lolu moy dega. I rest my case. I respect Mr. Dabo. I will always respect him. But to say that I hate the party, that is not true. I don't hate no one. We just happen to disagree. Pap Samba.
Jeng. Tomorrow, Rofatu. Jeng. You. Now, but most, what you said here, I was a living witness, and the people that gave you hard time, especially when you wrote the 2011 with your very short political antenna proposal for a coalition framework, I was one of the people who had serious problems with it. In fact, I accused you of writing a proposal for the UDP. Mm-hmm. And I remember that. In fact, those proposals, I still have them. Mm-hmm. Because of maybe eventually they will come in the form of a book or so when we narrate people's journey towards this struggle. But here is the thing, though, Musa. The saddest part about our politics is that I don't think a lot of people believe in the democracy that they claim. The reason why people go to elections periodically is so that Gambians can choose who they want. The reason why there is a provision in our constitution that calls for the right to freedom of association is so that people can associate themselves with any group that they choose to associate themselves with. Just because you do not support a particular political party does not in any way mean that you hate those that are members of that political party. A prime example, 1992, there was the Toure family, Karamba's family, Sadio Toure versus Dr. Toure, blood brothers, blood brothers.
Yes.
And can you imagine when Dr. Toure said, hey, I am standing for the same seat that my brother is occupying? Can you imagine if people are saying, oh, you don't go hit or don't go anyane? Why would you do this? That's your brother. Because that's the thinking that people will have. Everybody must have the right to support any group that they feel like supporting. Because if you do not have that, then we do not have a democracy. I am a member of the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism. Does that make me hate Mr. Dabo or hate Mama Kande or hate Ahmadba or hate anybody else? I have a very good relationship with Ahmadba, but I don't support him. Henry Gomez is pretty much family. I have known him for close to 5 decades of my life. His blood sister has a child with my first cousin. So we are family. I do not support him. I will not support him. In fact, when he formed his political party and said, oh, we party Shanghai Lamaroko, nope, it doesn't work that way. I'm not supporting your party. But that doesn't mean I hate him. I will never hate him. Esa Fall, I do not support Esa Fall. His brother, Alafal, is one of my best friends. We went way back, my mama was and all these things. And guess what? Alafal was married to my first cousin. They have a child. But I'm not supporting Esafal because of my political ideology does not align with his. So I'm not supporting him. Mr. Dabo, everybody knows how much I love the guy. I love the guy. I respect the guy. But I'm not UDP because of my ideology does not align with that. We need to stop this nonsense of, oh, if you do not support me, you are a hypocrite. If you do not this thing, you hate me, or you are anti-Wolof, anti-Mandinka, and all that nonsense. Amufi, it's not necessary. Because if everybody had supported the UDP, that would have negated the very essence of democracy, the democracy that we are trying to build. If everybody had supported the NPP, that would have negated the objective that we have in building a democracy. What people must understand is we must agree to disagree without disagreeable. And sometimes I don't even think some UDP supporters even help the party. Because when people come and say, the only reason why you do not support the UDP is because you hate Mandinkas.
Yeah.
When the party is trying to tell you that we are not a Mandinka party, we are a party of Mandinkas, Wolof, Jolas, and every Gambian. But you want to say anybody else who does not support you hates it. It's just nonsense that some of these supporters say. It does not make sense. And what is important is, at the end of the day, this movement or that movement, Musa, you and I don't think there is somebody I talk to more than you.
Absolutely.
If it was like that, I would have jumped on your movement or whatever you call it a long time ago, or you would have jumped on my door a long time ago.
Whatever you call it.
Yeah, that's what you call it. You gotta even make up your mind whether it's United Movement or United Movement or whatever. But once you made up your mind, maybe you can call it whatever you call it. But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't work that way. You and I and Banker, we used to fight every day in the morning going to work, and after work we'll continue the fight.
Exactly.
Because we all had different positions. But what was important was we also respected everybody's position, that you have a right to where you are. I have a right to where I'm supposed to be. And if we develop that, we will not have all this nonsense. And there was something that Sarian said about this politics that is coming up. I believe this is going to be the nastiest political season in our history. I even saw something today where they had Kemo Bojang's picture. In the background of it, they have the rainbow colors and said that, you know what, yes, we'll be having a lot of money because we are friends with Tony Blair. And then they had another one with your leader Musa Jeng. Now I can say that your leader's picture with the same colors and saying that, you know what, in the Gambia, gays and this thing are all equal. So, and you look at it and you said, what are they trying to achieve? It's the same old nonsense playbook of, you know what, Talib is going to be financed by Tony Blair, or they're going to bring gays. You see the game that Jammeh used to play, that nonsense game, and you look at it, you feel so sorry for our country. And the fact of the matter remains that the closest person to Tony Blair in the Gambia is Adama Barrow, President Adama Barrow. That's the one that Tony Blair flies in the country to meet and goes out. But the thing is, at the end of the day, let's just focus on the issues. Everybody has a right to support any political party, any political leader that they want. We have billions of political parties, people with fell hats, and all these people coming, Fana, you couldn't get from political party. They expect people to support them. And that's it. And at the end of the day, hey, to me, I have zero problem with the NPP coming. You know that about me anyway. The UDP coming, your movement, or whatever you call it, coming, and all these people coming. Because at the end of the day, let the people decide the best person that they feel can best address their needs and aspirations. That's it. But we cannot just go and start this nonsense of, you know, anti-Mandinka, anti-UDP, hating Ousainou. Why would you hate? When you were working with Ousainou Darboe, Musa, you know, when you were talking, I was going through my picture. I saw this picture that I have with you and Mr. Darboe. You both were young, you know. You look very, very young. You even had some hair in that picture.
Bro, I still look young.
But what I'm saying here is, most of the people that are screaming that nonsense, when Ousainou was in the trenches, needing somebody to be by his side to fight the fight, they were nowhere to be found. There was a reason why when Mr. Darboe, whenever he would come to the United States, he would want to meet with a Musa Jeng or a Bankamane or a Passambajo or some of these people. He knew we were not members of the UDP, but he knew exactly, you know what, these are my partners in this fight. And that was not like a one-time thing. That was a consistent thing to even the period now. When he came to Atlanta, what was his view about you? Mr. Darboe is not stupid. He knew exactly who was there with the UDP when the fight was very, very, very lonely. But today, of course, and this is what we wanted, to have an open society an open democratic society where anybody can say whatever they want without anybody doing anything to them. And now, to borrow from Barrow, or let me just say, sorry, Nakalatu, Boy Fati, to borrow from His Excellency, President Dr. Adama Barrow, can you let them
come in?
When did it get so dark that we cannot even recognize each other? There were people who were there in the trenches. There was a time, there was this luxury of the hate UDP. No. Because they have no reconciled and wanted to put their necks out for the UDP or our partners on the ground. But to me, they're giving you this much relevance that you do not have. Musa Jeng is the reason why Talib left. I'm like, this guy has no influence anywhere. Even Kawur Samunufa have 2 votes. But they're giving you this relevance as if you are so powerful that you can just bring. It's just, but anyway.
Yeah, it's like, okay. I am like, but anyway.
All right. So Musa and Coach, I heard you guys. Thank you very much. And I must, stand firm and say what I know about you. And I will also use this opportunity to convey to those supporters who consider themselves loyal supporters of UDP to convey Mr. Dabo's message directly about you. As I said last year or year before, was it last year when they had the event in Atlanta? Musa, as I said, I don't come here every Sunday and say it, but every time I go to Seattle, your name come up as a topic. And in the midst of those people, I stand firm and I defend you. What I know about you and the values that you stand and the many years, during the struggle and up to today, what I know, I share that with people. And I think that's why I said we have to be very, very careful about, where we're heading as a country. And I think attacking people and telling them they hate this person based on your opinion. It's not based on any facts. It's not based on any facts. And today, someone cannot come in and reclaim they love UDP than anybody. And that's what I disagree with. And wherever I said, predominantly UDP supporters, I push back on that notion. And I think politics is about persuasion. If you cannot put your policy out there, things that you can sway or persuade someone from the other side, opposing side, to come on your side, you failed in your mission. Agitation, intimidation, vilification, being vindictive, it's not going to do a damn thing. We've been there through before. And no one can intimidate anyone, right? So what I'm trying to say here is, last year, when we had dinner with Mr. Dabo himself, Usainu Dabo, okay, Fenda was there, her daughter, Usman Manjang was there, Lamin Tarawale was there, and the Koto, Mr. Ba, I believe his last name. He told me personally, Sarian Lafta, Yafu Musa Ekuaya Baraka. And that he did the work that the way he works hand in hand with the UDP chapter in Atlanta, and the help that he did in securing his place, Savannah Hall, and the prize that he gave to them. I want you to convey my special thanks and gratitude to him directly. That's from Mr. Dabo. And that's very, very profound. So what we're saying here is, I'm not scared of anyone. I can say this anywhere, right? So this is from Mr. Dabo to you, Musa Jeng. And I convey this to you. And Mr. Lamin Trawale was there. And Lamin Trawale, when we came to the hall, told me to, when I was in the MC, to say, I want on behalf of the UDP chapter in Atlanta to thank Mr. Musa Jeng. This struggle didn't come 2 days or 5 years ago. There were partnership that was built. We had disagreements, but at the end of the day, we respect each other. You and I come here, we argue, we pull and push. But at the end of the day, when the show is over, we get on the phone and we talk, Musa. That is how politics is supposed to be. It's not impersonal. But I've seen a trend here, and we must push back and we must repudiate it. And if you think you sit in the diaspora somewhere, or you sit in the Gambia, you're gonna intimidate people for not speaking? We've been through the worst. People forgot not going to Gambia because they stood firm on the values, what they believe in, and fought Gambia tooth and nail. Some of their parents passed away. They could not even go to Gambia. Their siblings and all that, but they stayed the course because they saw a huge target. That was Gambia. But this whole thing, yes, I've seen audios, like you said, I've seen videos. People are saying, you are behind, you are buying this, you are behind this. No. The man said he wants to support the United Movement for Change. Let it be. He has the right to do that. What I could do is, if Musajam brought policies and things that I don't agree with him, I will debate him. I will challenge him. I think that's what we need to elevate our conversation to, but not attacking people, not accusing people, not personally attacking someone's character and integrity. I think that is totally uncalled for. Totally uncalled for. And I'm totally against it. Totally against it. Let's exercise some restraint. Let's exercise some civility. Yes. Disagree with him. Challenge him on policy. Why do you think UDP is a better option? I believe in that. I definitely believe in that. Not personality attacks.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I wanted to recap on this whole thing. We're not here to defend you, Musa. You can defend yourself. But I felt it's my obligation, working with you side by side. If stuff comes in, I can speak on equivocal tone. What I know about you and what your character and the work that you have done up to this point. And we're notwithstanding, just last year, the party leader that they said you hate told me in front of others who can vow. And I told you last year at Demba Balde's house, just this fundraising, there was a young man who came from Minnesota. He don't know you. He watched this platform. He made his mind about you. And I defended. Usman Manjang was there, and Usman Manjang also stood up and defended who he knew about you. Because he said, we were both at Ajara. Up to today, I know him. That's not who he is. And that's what we could do.
Yeah.
That's what we could do.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Musa, I am so sick and tired. And I'm just going to tell you this. I let go the exhausting pursuit of validation. I let go. If people want to make up their mind, they can make up their mind. At the end of the day, we all have something to offer. And we need to stay the course without being distracted. If Coach wants to be part of PDOIS, Coach can be part of PDOIS. Musajan wants to be part of United for Movement for Change, he can. Don't come on his form trying to attack him. I think that is totally uncalled for. The people who move on, who align themselves, let them be. We've seen this before. As you said, the first fracture was between NPP and UDP. And some people move on. They are with NPP. You know, the Fabu Sanis. I mean, this thing happens all the time. But how we come together and move forward, that is very, very important. It's an important key. Okay? Yes. So let's be careful in our own rhetoric. Let's move on. And at the end of the day, we the people, one thing is certain though. We know there is not going to be a single political party that's going to win the State House without others joining you. So some of these things can be unforgiving, and we all need to be careful, myself included. Musa Jeng and Koipa Sambajo. I think that's very, very important moving forward. We need to be measured in our rhetoric. I don't care what people have opinions. You think everything that they said here define who I am and what I stand and the values that I espouse? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I would not yearn or bow down to come in here and fold to what people are going to say, what opinions they're going to. Absolutely not. We need to push forward and we need to speak on clear terms, things that don't align with majority of the Gambians. And we need to continue to talk because you know what? We got someone who wants to creep on power and wants to do whatever. And we cannot afford to lose 2026. And that should be the focus.
That should be the focus.
You're right.
Wrong. And obviously, really, I mean, it's definitely not about me. But and I see some of the comments. You guys are absolutely right. Like, all I have is an opinion. And I didn't want it to be about me. But when people make audios, and then I'm getting calls, just like during the Jammeh days, when we were getting calls from our parents and sisters, I mean, it's so for me, this is the platform that I have to set the record straight. I could just make an audio and go out there and do the thing. I don't have time for that. I use my platform, and that's exactly. But definitely, it's not about me. It's about 2026. But Bob Samba, there was an interview from our spokesperson.
Oh Lord Jesus Christ.
Kemo Bojang. You know what I'm hearing now from Gambians? You know what the slogan is? People are saying this guy is the new SM Diba. They're pushing back. They're like, oh, now you guys are getting carried away. But I don't think so. Paptamba yo panga. Yo fekenga bi SM Diba. Man pala. Hamga man nungunako. Yo mom danga bani. But if anybody thinks pulling this comparison somehow, Kemo Bojang, even before he left the United Democratic Party, I have always come on this program and I would say, this young man is heading somewhere. I'm a sucker to people that are smart, articulate, and at the same time very measured. Which is who I am. I tend to gravitate to people like that.
Yeah, but you're making this about yourself. Just explain what you get it.
No, let me tell you, Sarian, this guy and real deal. Every
Kemo. I'm talking about Kemo. I'm telling you why I gravitated to Kemo, man, personally. And now I listened to that interview. The questions that were asked. The guy was absolutely convincing. Very measured, quick on his feet. I'm like, yes. Now I can understand why people are saying Talib Moy Kemo, Kemo Moy Talib.
Oh Lord Jesus.
I'm like, whoa. What? Hongo Moy Jumai and Jumai.
Oh my God.
This movement, in the fact that, you see, you can measure a leader or an entity based on decisions that they make, especially when it comes to appointing people to do certain things. This was the first important selection appointment that they did. And I think they put it out of the ballpark. It was it was a very good appointment. And I'm sure, Pasamba, you told me that. You've shared.
I like Kemo, and I think he's a very, very smart young man. And I think if there is one thing that your organization did, and I don't want this whole topic to be about promoting this Unite movement or so, but I think you guys made the right choice, because I think not only is he the Fadal, and I think he understands the issues. Now, I think you guys, this is too early. I know you guys are all very excited and all that stuff, but we have a lot of time coming, and your movement, you'll be getting the first dose of the UDP reaction on the 25th when Baba flies back in the Gambia, it would take him almost 10 hours before he gets to his house. But anyway, I think when it comes to Kemo, I think you guys made the right choice, and I hope that we'll have an opportunity to have him on this show so that we can interrogate very thoroughly this whole thing about the movement and what it is all about. But again, hey, you guys are doing good so far.
Actually, he will be here next week on Sunday.
Okay.
We'll have Kemo Bojang live and direct. And he will talk about the movement. He will talk about, just like he did on Coffee Time, the change. He will talk about what it's going to take, because our focus is to make sure that President Barrow is term limited. And that's what our focus is.
When you say our, who are you? Are you talking now as a panelist, or are you talking now as the Kanatura?
Interchangeably, I am part of the movement.
So no. Can we shelve your movement and talk about other issues that affect our country more important than your movement?
Whenever an issue come up, even if Kemo comes here on Sunday, next Sunday, I will wear my for the people, by the people hat. Okay. And I will ask the questions like I always do.
You'll be the devil's advocate.
The devil's advocate, you better believe it. I have to do that. But I know that the young man was here before. He doesn't need my help. I can tell you that. He really doesn't. Brother Maron.
Sometimes that is hard. Now the devil's advocate part, especially when you start talking about the current government. I think it muddles up. Last week, it was a very tough terrain to navigate through, because if you wanted to unseat the current status quo, but also you say, oh, they can say that they gave the opportunity, they created an environment for the audit process to happen. I think you're putting yourself in a bind. So it's a tough terrain to walk through. So I'm just letting you know. But nevertheless, I think Kemo is a great guy. I listened to him. He was very measured, composed, and steady as the North Star. I mean, he stayed on the issues, and he articulated what his vision is and what the movement's vision is, and I think that's what he could do, moving forward. So I think he's gonna have more opportunities to be interviewed. So we'll see, what you guys have to offer, and what the movement has to offer, and the Gambians are keenly listening. Whether it's going to be the status quo, it's going to be a departure from the current status quo. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward.
Now, what I really wanted us to talk about, whenever President Adama Barrow, for the sake of boy fighting, is on vacation, and you put a microphone before him, that's when you hear all the news. He had his interview with CDCC. Talked about his 50-meter remote control, his fridge in the house, the drinks, the music, and all that stuff, being denied visa 7 times, and all these stories and all that stuff. To me, that didn't bother me. But there was something that he said recently when he met the people. I think they came from Chairman Nyanija, where he said that there are some people who are like communists, and at their houses, they have big dogs, say do not enter. So pretty much when you enter there, the dogs will attack you. And if those people become president, you will never get access to that. That was one. He also said that there are people, are vultures. Because vultures will never do the hunting, but would eat the meat that was hunted. And that there are some, when the fight was, when they were fighting Jammeh, they packed all their families and went to England and stayed there. And to me, Musa, that is just so dishonest to say. Because at the end of the day, the fight against Jammeh was not a fight that only happened in the Gambia. There was a reason, like I alluded to, that when an Ousainou Darboe came to the United States or went to England, there were people that he wanted to work with. People who not only amplified the voices of the opposition that could not be done on the ground, but also raise the necessary funds to be able to help and sustain them in their fight. Adama Barrow did not do any more than anybody else who was outside of the Gambia in fighting Jammeh. Yes, he was a member of the UDP. Yes, he stood for elections. That was it. A lot of people did not know him because he was not a single Nyasi. He was not a Kemeseng Jammeh. He was not a Femi Peters. He was not a Halifa Sallah. He was not any of these leaders, the Ahmad Bas, the Wajuaras, any of these leaders who put their necks on the line and even went to jail numerous times in fighting Jammeh. That doesn't mean that we should reduce anything that he did. But don't also be a beneficiary of a struggle and then want to throw stones at others. Adama Barrow being the flag bearer of UDP and eventually the coalition was not an act of, what do they call it? Heroism. It was not. It was a choice and a chance that became available, and he ran with it. And this was why people like the Ajayams had to help force him pretty much to accept to run. Am I saying that it was an easy thing to run against Jammeh? No, it was not. But being a presidential candidate in the Gambia, at that time, yes, it had its dangers, but you also had the protection because you had this exposure where if anything were to happen to you, everybody in the world would jump and say, no. This was why the Halifas and all these people arrested would not be in jail for too long. First, I've been to Usaino's house. I've never been to Talib's. I don't know where he lives. He doesn't have a dog that will stop people from coming. I've been to Mama Kande's place. He doesn't have a dog that will tell people not to come in. I've been to Halifa Salah's house. You cannot even get in the house because of people that are outside selling their produce. So you cannot say that he doesn't even accept people in. So maybe he was talking about Talib.
Of course.
And maybe, and I've seen people saying actually that is also false. That Talib doesn't have a dog in this place. But here is the thing, though, Musa. No, but here is the thing, though. Why is it, in fact, necessary in the Gambia now for people to even find dogs or build their fences so high so to protect themselves from people that are jumping your fence and trying to steal from you? It's because of the failed leadership of Adama Barrow. Because if he had the necessary security reforms in that country, the security challenges that we are facing today would not have been faced in that country. But what this guy does whenever he is giving a microphone, instead of addressing the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people, Adama Barrow would always engage in these side talks that do not benefit anybody. It does not make sense. And again, why is it that people had to leave the Gambia? If Adama Barrow was not deported from Germany, chances are he would have never joined the UDP. And maybe the 9 buses that he was taking to go to travel within the UK drove him to come back. And he would tell you, man, fila nekon, man dabaligay, be tekifi, man, I had everything. No, you did not, Mr. President. We all remember Adama Barrow with your Ghana must go back that you were holding in your hand before you became Nakalatura, a candidate of the UDP. And we all knew what went into the haftans that you started wearing, the Grambubas, as a candidate. Because we saw what you wore and said that we needed to have you a lot more presentable than you were. So don't come here and sell us I was rich. No, you were not. I remember there was this article that Saul Sedikan wrote. And I have to blame my UDP brothers and sisters because of they went with this whole ridiculous thing of he graduated with a degree in real estate. He is a businessman. And I remember Saul Sedikan writing, there is a difference between a businessman and a bana. The guy is not a businessman. He was a bana. Now you're doing good. You have your money. You are giving out, dishing out 10 million. But what I'm saying here is let's not always try to disparage people. by saying that, you know what, they were so scared, they packed their families and went to England. There was a reason why people traveled abroad. But people traveled abroad and also continued to fight for this change. People paid heavy price for this fight. Heavily. Went to jail, got arrested, got beaten, lost their jobs, lost their marriages, did everything to fight. And this was why you, President Barrow, would say after you were elected, hey, whenever I wake up, the first thing I question, oh, what are they saying today on the internet? That's what you were saying. Because it was important to you then. But don't come here and try making it as if you were the jambar and everybody was a coward. Or that people who want to exercise a democratic right in a country that is claiming to be democratic are opportunistic. What would be the essence of a democracy if you don't have people vying for office? At least if I were you, what I would say, you know what, I'm so glad that in fact I'm overseeing a situation in our country now where everybody wants to be president. Because of now, I am the champion of democracy in the theater. But don't try to make fun of people and say they ran to England. You ran away. You tried to be in Germany, they deported you, went to England, took 9 buses, and decided, you know what, I'm tired of this life because 3 hours sleep, that's what you claim you were doing. Let me go back. So, come on. But anyway, Moose.
So, I listened to that interview. And like I told Ibrahim Asila, there is something about this movement and Talib Ahmed Bensouda that's making these people jittery. I mean, that statement. And you know what, guys? You can say whatever you want on the comments. Oh, this thing is not independent anymore. Nothing has changed. We've been accused of being a battle platform. We've been accused of being a UDP platform. Nothing is going to change. This platform is going to remain independent. But indeed, I will say my opinion. And so let me say this. Everything that he said was directed at Talib. And I think we need to go back and because the president has made this argument before that when nobody is willing to stand up and take on Jammeh, I did. Let's go back and look at that. And most of the guys living in the diaspora, I have this guy that I talk to all the time. He's a NPP sympathizer, and he always tells me that. You and coach and all of them.
Yeah, that's Boy Fatty. You can just say Boy Fatty.
So, but let's look at that. Even other politicians would say that, Other parties would say that the people that actually sacrificed during the time of Jammeh. But one thing that we fail to realize, it was absolutely much more secure, safe to be a party leader during the time of Jammeh than to be a supporter. I'm telling you, and that's what most people don't realize. It was very safe because you were protected. Jammeh Dofuton, yes, he was arresting them here and there. But if you look at the people that were being killed, it was their supporters. They were unknown. But a party leader, Omar Amadou Jallow would say whatever he wants to say in the Gambia, and he would get away with it. You try it as an individual. There was a reason why radio stations, owners of radio stations, would only play music and talk about sports. But again, the political leaders, Chisen Mimbari, they will say whatever they want to say. They were protected. So this whole idea, and let's even look at President Barrow's argument. He was the one that stepped up and salvaged the country. Let's interrogate that. Look, there were a lot of people that vied to become the candidate for the coalition. Maybe anyone would want to be that. Nyep nyola support, nyep nyola ngemba. You are protected. You are the guy. You were the guy chosen. Halifa Saleh applied. He wanted to be that. So was Ahmad Ba. There were other candidates that applied as well. So this whole idea, he was the brave one that actually took on Jammeh and sent him packing. That's not the whole story. That is a very, very, very funny version of the story. That's not how it went down. We all know that. We seriously all know that. Denko Dimbele, Denko Ngemba. He was supported by everybody. Going all the way back to 2006, that's what we wanted, we couldn't get it. Now, when are we going to be able to come together and support one individual? He got something that no one else got. Nyep nyoko support. And Gambians did not have an opinion about him. That was another strength that all the other politicians did not have. Because Mr. Dabo, he has his reputation, people know about him. Halifa Sallah, the same thing. You have your supporters and you become very polarizing. But Barrow was an unknown. And Gambians wanted to basically get rid of Jammeh. And every political party and political leader and opinion leader supported him. So it was an act of bravery. It was not. It was actually, he got something that no one else ever gotten. So this whole idea that, and he was directing this at Taliban. Yeah, when we were fighting, where were they? They were the ones that live in protected houses. And I hear that all the time. If he ever got elected, this guy is the candidate of the business elite. I'm going to keep saying that. And you guys can say whether this platform is turned to be Unite Movement for Change. Look, man, I wake up every morning and I come every Sunday and I come here. Nobody is paying me. I believe in change. I believe that Gambia needs to change. And here I see an opportunity for that to happen. And I think he and the UMC is the vessel that can take us there. But we cannot do it alone. We all have to come together like in 2016 and find a formula. If we want Jammeh, if we want President Barrow to be defeated. I saw this thing in Mankamangkunda. Everybody is heading there now. 2 GDC officials, the coordinator and someone else. And I think Mama Kande, his people are kind of leaving him like crazy, joining the NPP juggernaut. Now is the time for him to make the calculation why a coalition of parties need to come together if we want to give our country the opportunity for change. And Ftpbtp 2026, I think every Sunday that we come here, we should explore how and what are the possibilities to bring parties together so that we can have another shot at bringing an end to the Barrow status quo. We have to interrogate that. Honestly, I know. The problem is always going to be who is going to lead. The problem is always going to be this and that. But in the absence of conversation, that is why I like what Kemo Bojang said. The interview on, and I think if you guys haven't watched it, please go to West Coast Radio and listen to the interview. He understands what is going to take to bring about change. And I think each and every one of us, and my brother Marong, I know you're giggling. We have to have the conversation. What is it going to take for us to make sure that President Barrow is not re-elected? And I believe he's vulnerable. I believe he can be defeated. But I also wasn't born yesterday. It's just not going to happen like that. Like he always say himself, it's not going to be easy like that there. It's not going to be easy like that there. So we have to do our homework. It's in our hands. Do we want to stop President Barrow and usher in change, system change, real change, get rid of the culture of corruption? Are we serious about that? Are we serious about bringing a change to get rid of the culture of politics as we know it? Are we serious about that? If we are serious about that, then we need to be able to muster the courage and make the necessary compromises that will strengthen the hands of the opposition so that at least we can give ourselves, the country, a chance, another chance like we had in 2016. Brother Marong.
Oh boy, I tell you, man, it's gonna be a long road ahead. That I can tell you for sure. With the sound bites and everything else, man. People gotta watch Kimo Boya. Gotta watch Kimo Boya. I love your passion, Father Mose.
Hey, I love you back, my brother.
But anyways, I think I heard you guys, and I think I was troubled. The information coming from Manka Mankunda when a couple of days before there was an AG who went to the Supreme Court, and out of what he said, he made very, very disturbing allegations against the president of the republic in terms of interference with his day-to-day work. And instead of addressing that issue, he went into calling people vultures and talking about, dogs and all that stuff. And I think that is totally unnecessary. And I think that should even encourage many Gambians to come together and ensure that this man is disposed come 2026. It's not a joke, because I think the country faced a lot of challenges, and in not addressing that, and but resorting to such mundane issues and not addressing. I mean, the AG made level accusations upon accusations. In fact, implying that a sitting president will call the Auditor General and tell him that do not go, do not audit certain parastatals, and because it's gonna model my election bid, and somehow that is not making into the news cycle. But we all keep talking about people who broke away from UDP and form a united movement. These are issues, and these are things that's going to decide whether we want a president who can unilaterally wake up one morning and say, I'm going to fire you because you are executing your work professionally. I think that is very troubling. And I think the conversation needs to shift. We've seen, I think I saw on a news headline that the Minister of Finance said they need about 11 million for a digital transformation. Where are they going to get that money from? I mean, it's 67% international debt, 33 domestic. The national debt is skyrocketing. There is no restraint. There's absolutely nothing, and we do not talk about that. But we are fixated about who is who aligned with who. That's not gonna bring this change. And I'm troubled. I'm definitely troubled. People need to follow up on these issues, because I really don't think a president can sit there and tell someone, if you are executing your work professionally, we need to take you out of the office, because that is not in the best interest of my government. And I really, really think people need to kind of talk about it and ensure that, I mean, we talk about security. The Minister of Works and Communication came here about 4 weeks ago. We had this discussion, Musa. The Baton Highway, the issues, the flooding issues, we've seen it. Rain season over rain season. There are millions and millions that were spent on that road construction. Nothing's been done. And are we going to continue to talk about it? We'll continue going through this path over and over? I mean, I think everyone needs to kind of back down and reflect on these things. Yes, we have roads, but when rainy season comes in, this thing floods. Westfield, I've seen it. There's absolutely no end in sight. The lack of accountability, the lack of foresightness
on the leadership type. We need to pivot. We need to change. And without changing, government is just going to be low on productivity, and they're going to bring a very, very minimal progression to what we desire for our country. And I think that is a conversation all of us needs to continue having. Because I really think still now, when we talk about, they said, oh, road construction. Yes, road construction is there, but what is that? What does that look like? Is it for almost 20 years guaranteed? No, because we've seen problems upon problems upon problems. How do we fix that? How do we fix out of government control spending? How do we bring accountability within the civil sector and also the executive as well? We've seen whereby they said they transfer money to pay for air tickets for the first lady. Who is talking about that? How do we account for that? What kind of leadership do we need to fix such issues moving forward? Whereby we're going to abolish the office of the first lady and continue to strengthen the executive, ensuring that we hold them accountable, where the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary are co-equal branch of the government. I think that's what this conversation needs to direct to. The status quo is unsustainable. And I think it's about time that we continue to talk about issues. And I think Gambians barely, if you talk to anyone, they say, oh, there is so much hardship. And you cannot deny that. They know that. The reason they are making all these, issues about what goes wrong, what is not happening, they knew exactly they are vulnerable. And that vulnerability, we need to zoom into it straight up. And where all the issues happening were sophisticated about, personality issues, it's not, the election is not going to be won by that. We have to articulate the direction, the fundamental change, why we need an alternative better than the current status quo. And I think that's what is going to drive people to this mantle that is all happening around called change. Whether it's going to be a good change or bad change, unless we articulate our positions very, very clearly, convincing folks who might be on the other side. So I think that's what it's going to take, Father Mose. That's what it's going to take.
That's what it's going to take. Absolutely. Pop Samba.
Yeah, Mose, I know Boy Fati likes to throw around this. Nobody wanted to set a foot in the Gambia when Jammeh was there. I think that idea itself is very myopic in itself. Because at the end of the day, well, how Monday I can put my hand up anywhere and said, when opposing Jammeh was not fashionable, I was one of the first 5 Gambians to publicly challenge them until the time I left the country. And if people were afraid to go to Gambia, one thing I can tell you that there was a reason why Jammeh was always hiding his travels to the United States.
Exactly.
He never announced them. And I'm not going to take the credit, but I know he knew that there would be the Pasamba Jaws, there would be the Musa Jenks, there would be the Bankamanes, there would be all these people who are waiting for me and would really give me hell. So as long as he was able to make going to the Gambia uncomfortable for us, we were able to make coming to the United States absolutely uncomfortable for him. And this was why after even buying his house, Jammeh could count in his one hand how many times he stepped foot in that house because of the fear that he had of people coming out. And yes, I may not have been to the Gambia after I left, but I was one of few people who were able to hold Jammeh hostage on 2 different occasions in New York City at his hotel with the Nauna Makaitas, the Bokar Bajis, Jajus, and all these other people, Dr. Janes and Bankers and all these things, the Duga folks and everything. To the extent that he, in fact, tried to smuggle his own wife outside of a kitchen, through a kitchen door, the back door, like a rented whore. And we also knew what we did at the Hay Adams. You think Jammeh didn't want to go to all those meetings that he wanted to go? He was enjoying that. But at least while going to Gambia was not palatable for some people in the diaspora, him coming to the diaspora was not something he looked forward to. And this was why he never announced it. So people were not just afraid. We fought a good fight. And that good fight led to the presidency of Adama Barrow. But of course, Adama Barrow cannot remember that. He has since forgotten that his presidency was as a result of the blood and sweat of people. And this is why he had no problem on the anniversary of Single Nyase's death. He decided to go to visit Jammeh's house to say, well, I'm just trying to make peace. And this is why he had no problem hobnobbing with the very people who cheerlead Jammeh's dictatorship. But again, Musa, another serious issue that we have to look, I know Juka is coming in and we'll talk about that, is any serious democracy after the outcome of this case at the Supreme Court should be contemplating impeaching President Barrow if what is alleged is true. Because no president in a democracy should have the audacity to call an auditor general into your office and tell them, do not audit this institution, stop auditing, stop releasing audit reports, because they're going to, what do they call that, affect my chances for re-election. Musa, that is so sad. And it's scandalous. And it undermines the constitution of our republic, undermines the transparency that we're trying to build, and it also undermines the very integrity of our institutions. But of course, they don't want people to talk about that. So they bring all this nonsense of the 50-meter remote controls and all these things so that people will focus on that. Can you imagine? Do not, according to, and I believe the Auditor General. Musa, there was a piece I wrote the day he was fired. The morning that they went and unconstitutionally, unlawfully removed him from office, that I believed him, that the government was lying. A minister in the government called me less than 5 minutes after I wrote that. But coach, how do you know that the government was lying? I told him, because I do not believe the government, I believe Mr. Sisi, the Auditor General, because he has never lied to the Gambian people. I have no reason to believe that he was lying. And I stand by that. Musa, no serious government, no serious president, unless you are like the clown that they have here in the United States, will ever, in fact, try to pull such a thing. And when the guy did not budge, they came up with a scheme. Since we cannot constitutionally fire him, let's try to lure him into taking a ministerial position. That way I can just wake up and say, I've relied on Section 7, and remove him from office. And I think, Musa, y'all talking about 2016.
2026.
2026. And the issue at hand is this: how Barrow and his people are running our government. Musa, I am of the belief, and I still believe this, that Africa does not need any president to serve more than 2 terms. Because consistently they have shown that when you give them a term and add another one, they abuse it. And this is why I don't believe that Adama Barrow should succeed himself. In fact, I even believe if Adama Barrow was the most successful president in the history of our country, that he should not even succeed himself. No president should serve for more than 2 terms. If I have it my way, no president will serve more than a term. You come and do your term, do whatever you can within 5 years and leave. Enjoy your perks. And the danger that Gambia would have if, you see, abuse comes in, it's not something that happens, this thing, it comes from time to time.
Exactly.
You know, Jammeh didn't come and just become a full-blown dictator.
He did not.
It took time. And the issue was power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. like a power corrupts absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is going to happen once you become very, very comfortable in your position, you still to start to believe that, you know what, I can get away with anything I do. He tried it with the Yakumba Jaite case. The Supreme Court ruled that he did not have the powers to fire her. Don't you think that would have been enough lessons to say, hey, I should revert my mind back to the Supreme Court ruling? But no, he is now so drunk with power that he believes that he can get away with anything that he can do in that country. And give him a third term at your own peril. You will see a most reckless Barrow. A Barrow who do not care about the Constitution. Because he would think that he is now over the top and can do whatever he wants to do. Nobody in Africa. That's why I don't like Kagame. That's why, to me, once you go more than 2 times, I'm done with you. And Gambians, please listen and listen carefully. Choose wisely. I'm not going to tell you choose Talib or Dabo or this thing. When we do have our candidate, I will come and then I will endorse that person. I'm not going to do it here. But what I'm telling you here is do not give him a third term if you want a Gambia with a president that will respect your rights and respect the Constitution of the Republic. Musa.
I absolutely agree with you. Unlike you, I will remind people to not only choose wisely, but to choose, I believe, the new wind of change that is happening, and that is the movement. You know, Pasamba, my work is in finance. I got audited by internal audit. I got audited by external auditors. They send you questions, and they want you to send them the information, and they give you deadlines. You don't tell them what to ask. You don't dictate to them what you can give or you cannot give. That's not how it works. When I saw, you remember at the beginning with the Modu Sises, my conflict was, how could you be given a job to become a minister? The president give it to you without actually calling you in. I couldn't have answers. You know me with my devil advocacy. I'm like, wow, that is very confusing. But for the guy to go to the Supreme Court with his lawyers, and he put out these charges, now this is exactly what happened, that he was called by the president. There is no one, seriously, that would lie like that. That is why I believe him. That he was actually called and said, wait a minute, lay off lands, because something in lands that's not going to make them look good. That's why they said, just don't do that. Because if you do, it's going to jeopardize my chances in winning an election. That is an impeachable offense. Don't talk GRA. You're talking about GRA is such an important entity in our economy. It's like an osusu. Da ngay ñëw ñu ne kii mooy boot osusu bi ku nekk génnee every week ngeen jox ko ku nekk jox ki jox. That is the person, and that's GRA. According to our constitution, we have created a national audit office to be the guard to kind of look into how this revenue is collected, how is this revenue spent. So they have every right to call the GRA and say, give us this information. And we're going to reach out to, because he was here before, the Commissioner General, and said, what happened? What was he asking for that you guys said you don't want to give it to him? Is it constitutional? I believe the guy, Modu Sise. And like Pasamba said, you see, back in 2016, there was a reason why we said the entire rationale for coming together was to make sure to stop self-perpetuating. We don't want anyone to stay for more than 10 years. Because like Pasamba said, when you stay 5 years, when you stay 10 years, it becomes a default one party. You know how our politics is. It's zero-sum game. Everybody capitulate. The business elite will capitulate or else they'll be out of business. The political elite will capitulate because they see that this is the only gravy train in town. So si bokut bokulo. So sa wai falo nga falu. That is the culture that we wanted to get rid of. The culture of the politics, the culture of the corruption. And we believe that Jammeh was corrupt because he stayed for 20 years. We believe that even the First Republic, the culture of corruption was there because of Sadauda stayed for 30 years. So that's what we wanted to get away from. That is why the people, the Ibrahim Asilas of this world, they know. They were part of the struggles. These were our people. We were in the foxhole together. The whole idea was to stop anyone. But you know, they see the only way that they can protect their jobs is to make sure that the incumbent will run. And if that happens, Barrow has a chance of winning. But what happened with this case at the Auditor General, I think it is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. You cannot pick and choose. It's an independent entity, my friend. And we are going to ask the questions. And I have a feeling, because I still believe that we have an independent judiciary, that this guy is going to win his case and he's going to be reinstated. If that doesn't happen, you know, we all had our opinions. Halifa Sallah is one individual that he's very careful. Chilimo Dugal Bopam. When he went out there and he said what he said, I wish that the president would even listen. Because what he did was unconstitutional. The way the guy that was removed from his office, the optics was very bad. And to really call somebody, telling him not to do A, B, or C, interfering, that's obstruction. You can't do that in a so-called democracy, whatever your rationale is. And to say that this guy is just making stuff up, I don't think he is. I seriously don't think that he's making things up. And that's unfortunate. But like both yourself and Sarian said, yes, we have to talk about the issue. Why change needs to happen. We all know that. The tricky part is, what are we willing to pay to make sure that happens? Or are we just paying lip service to it? That change happens if you see it my way, or change happens if this person or that person. Haniko, the change has to be about the system. And I think, like I said before, we have to keep talking about, because for me, change only happens if we come together. Some are saying in the comments saying that, I mean, you're dividing parties and now you want to bring parties together. No, that has nothing to do with anything. All I'm saying is the pragmatism in me understands fully well, in as much as I believe this new generational shift, the movement, can be the conduit to bring the change. I also recognize the movement cannot by itself bring about the change. Or at least I can say the surest way to do it is to sit down on the table and put systems in place. Some say, well, we've been there before. There is total mistrust. In 2016, we did just that. No matter all the safeguards that we put in place, there was a betrayal. How do we avoid falling into that pit again? You see, in 2016, we had about 2, 3, 4 months to put it all together. We didn't have enough time. This time, we have at least 1 year, 2 months, 1 year, 3 months. We can sit down together, call everybody on the table, and said, okay, we want to stop the current state of affairs. And we want to replace it with a new system in place, with timelines. What are the things that we are going to do come December 6th, when the results are announced from the IEC? that the coalition has won, that the system change that we yearn for has won, what are the things that we are going to put in place? Now it's no longer about whether Sariang Momo neka chikanam or Pasamba mo neka chikanam or Musa Jeng mo neka chikanam. We are going to agree on a platform of the changes that we want to make sure it happens. If we want to make sure that from day one, we put a constitution in place and make sure in a very short time, we have a referendum and change that, where we have a term limit, where we have a 50+1, whether we have that a president cannot just nominate somebody without going through a confirmation hearing. We will have the opportunity to do just that. So it's going to be about the system that we're going to agree upon. All of us, the leaders, whoever, all the parties will sit down and agree to that. And they will sign on the dotted line. And this is how we intend to do it. And yes, we're going to deal with the difficult part. And that is, who are we going to use as a vessel to take us there? The less we make it about him, and we make it about the system, and we take the message to the Gambian people, that's how we are going to win. That is the only way that we are going to win. And I think it's possible. Any party, any individual who does not subscribe and doesn't want to be part of that, you take a kokobor, and we take our message to the Gambian people. But for once, it has to be about a system. It has to be about specifics, specific changes that we are going to make. They will have to compromise on that. We need to get away from this culture of zero-sum game. Kisu winerek, ñi ñoy doxal. The losers, like I said, the business elite, the political elites, everybody will capitulate, or else they will be out of business. We have to change that culture. And I think we have the people that can do that. But we can't do it by being... Karamba asked a very good question, and I think we all need to chime on it. He said, and that's why I like Karamba. Call him a partisan all you want. I'm sure a lot of times, I've known him for almost 15, 20 years. Seriously. And he's a partisan.
But what did he ask?
What did he ask? I listen. Allow me to learn.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay, well, you don't have to sensationalize. Just say what he said.
Bro, you can't be me, I can't be you.
No. Yeah, just go ahead. You're going in circles and circles about this. All right, I'm listening.
Did I say something wrong? I'm trying to figure out where am I going wrong? I don't know whether you saw Karamba's comment or question. That how do we see a path? I'm kind of trying to go back to it for change to happen, something to that effect. And I think that's a very fundamental question that we need to deal with. If we want to stop, if you want to stop President Barrow, Pasama catalog, you did before too. The reason why we should change him. And then the fundamental question is the how that we are going to be confronted with. And I believe the how, for me, for starters, is to bring people that really believe in that the change needs to happen. Because of what we are witnessing at the Auditor General's office, for a president to call that person and say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, that undermine the effectiveness of governance. I think it's very unconstitutional, if you ask me. But again, the courts will have they'll have the final say on the matter. But again, like I said, we have to interrogate the how of coming together. And I think it has to start with us recognizing that these are the changes that we are going to make sure to put it in place and sell that to the Gambian people. Brother Maron.
But it looks like you still didn't answer Karamba's question.
Let me go back to the comment. All I'm saying is for us to discuss how do we, that's why I want to go back so that we get the specifics of the question.
No, the question was, I remember it. Musa, I want to feel you on the pathway to victory for your movement and the opposition in general in 2026.
Exactly.
That's the gist of the question.
That's the gist of the question.
And this is what I believe is going to happen. I'm not saying that the opposition cannot win, but I believe it will be a daunting task to defeat Adama Barrow. And this is why. I don't think Adama Barrow would care about consents or anything to do whatever it is. You steal resources and whatever it is that they can do to win. And the NPP is known to engage in some of the dirtiest politics that you can think of. We saw what happened in 2016, 2021, when they engaged in the most blatant tribal politics in their country. And I think Barrow is going to use whatever it is to win. I don't believe the elections will be stolen, as people say. I don't believe they steal elections. And this is where I would challenge the opposition too. When voter registration comes, and maybe, Musa, this is where whatever you guys are doing, your coalitions, that's where it should start. When voter registration comes, given that it will be hard for all the opposition to cover all registration centers, this is where maybe the opposition should come together and strategize where, okay, you know what, UDP, you can cover LRR, DOI will cover this area, this, and you will share notes. Okay? But then when the voter registration is over and they publish the names, it is published for Gambians to scrutinize. Then revising courts would be put in place so that you can challenge the registration of people that you deem not suitable to be registered. What happened during the last elections after Chowli Yep during the voter registration thing? What did they do? Instead of going to the revising court to challenge the things that they were complaining about, everybody just sat on their hands until the elections were over, and then you came with all these documents and say we have evidence that the people were illegally registered. Because once the thing is over, the revising courts, once their period is over, the next step is just the publication of the final voter roll, and there is nothing that you can do to remove anybody from it. So if the opposition is really interested in clean elections, don't sit and complain. Act on it. There are legal avenues that must be taken to ensure that the voter roll that you have is of people who are eligible to be registered in the Gambia. But to sit and wait until elections are over and then want to come with all these documents and say you're going to the Supreme Court, the elections is stolen because of the registered A, B, C, and D. No. That's what I'm saying. So maybe, Musa, I'm thinking the path to working together may not start with, okay, let's just form a coalition right now. This is going to be our candidate. But let's be strategic. What are our challenges? These are our challenges. How do we stop them? How do we work together to stop them? And this was the reason why GOFA came about. Maybe the opposition needs to take a leaf from GOFA, that is Gambian Opposition for Electoral Reform. Because when after the 2011 elections and the United Front, which was Ahmad Doi and them, came out with their report, the UDP-led coalition came out with their reports, their concerns were very similar. And they said, hey, let's come together and discuss this and find a solution. And the first solution was, you know what, unless these changes happen, we are not going to go to the National Assembly elections. They agreed not to go. But then they started working on those things in tandem, in unity, and say, you know what, we are going to work with this. Let's come up with this group called GOFA. They weren't talking about you're going to be the president. No, they weren't even talking about that. But what they wanted was the reforms that we need to be fought for first, and then we go to the next level. And maybe this presents an opportunity, Musa, to your movement and all the other political parties that want an election that is free and fair to start working together at a certain level, until it goes to where you can say, okay, now we've gotten what we want. Now let's think about how do we want to come together and contest elections. But the way that everybody is going, my movement is giving them house to house. My people are coming out. I have the most people. You know what we're going to have? A repeat of 2011, where Adamaba would come out with 70-something% of the votes, and we will all be sitting here, and that's not possible. But
I don't think that's what's going to happen, because I think that 2011 was 2011. We are in a new day, and we have
a new movement.
And yes, of course, a new movement. And but I'll allow my man.
I thought you're going to talk about the movement, man. That's why I was giving you a chance. It's all good.
I will always talk about the movement.
So, Coach, I always say this, and I believe this. You raise very, very important point here. I think voter registration, that's where elections are won, and I really think the oppositions. I'm not saying wear some black shirts, go out there, try to intimidate people at the registry, but I think they should be part of the process. And it starts off where the attestation. If there is a committee, I really think all the political parties should be part of that to scrutinize that document and ensure that people are actually eligible to vote. I mean, that is very, very standard universally. Here, they put, there is an imprisonment terms stipulated in the document if you're not a U.S. citizen and you're trying to vote. And I think that could not be taken lightly. But I really think at the party level, they should be able to identify folks who are actually going to work at the local level, and they can streamline this, and there is courts to decide who actually will be part of that committee. If someone brings their document, they want this, yes, the person, the alcalde, whoever, but there should be people who actually sit there and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I brought the document, he's that blah, 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 I can attest this, not just the alcaldes, right? We know how this alcalde thing works now. So I think you would really call the alcaldes, they are very in line with the ruling party. And I also think the opposition needs to be very, very mindful as far as scrutinizing those documentation to ensure that, the people who have the right to vote are the only people who should vote, not the people, who are not eligible. And I think that is very, very important. And Coach, I don't know, do they have like a timeline when registration is done and when they could take? I think it's 2 weeks, but I'm not sure for certain.
What is happening, in fact, this time around, they will have supplementary registration. They're not going to have a general registration. Supplementary registration is those who maybe didn't register and want to register, who were not on the register roll. So they are not going to. So whatever we went with 2021 is going to be the register that we're doing. Okay. And in addition will be those, maybe his voters cards have been lost or destroyed and all that. And I think when they do the revising course, I think they are on for about 10 days or so. And then chances are given to people to come and say, we challenged it in 1992, because what we used to do, and this from experience, I used to be one of those. We will go and sit there. I will sit. I've done this. You sit next to them, you come, we look at you, we know your documents are in order, we mark. If you have any issue, you're not supposed to challenge them there. You just mark it and say, you know what, Musa Jeng mi, joge wul kawur, kilenga joge nakaratura, Senegal la joge jalali fi frontier. I have evidence of that. You just mark. Because you know the number, what it is. So when the roll comes out, that's why it is published for the country to scrutinize. You look at it and say, okay, this Musa Jeng, this voter card number, potentially and this is the information. So you compile that and you go to court and say, you know what, the revising court, I am challenging the registration of A, B, C, and C on the basis of A, B, C, and D. Okay? And if you have the evidence, then it works for you. But what I'm saying, Moine, yes, Adama Barrow is very unpopular. I know that, Kini, Karamba. But what I'm saying, Moine, if we really want to have our elections, the one that we want, especially with the supplementary registration of voters, let's have serious people to scrutinize it. And that's not only there. Even when you go to the voting Sibopa, the agents, I know it's difficult sometimes to have agents, but the opposition must have serious people. Do you remember what happened 2011 before we have the Nakalatura? what do they call that? The on the spot counting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, do you know what they did? When I was an agent in 1992, Bundung, we went there because you know the drum, they have a bell. So when you drop your thing in there is a sound, but it has to be uniformed because we have to test it in front of all the agents before it starts. When we did ours in Bundung Nusrat High School, OJ's bell was different from Halifa's and the guy, I forgot his name, Jaite, of the NCP. And we said, nope, it's not happening. That drum has to be changed and it has to be uniformed. So the voting did not take place until that was changed and there was uniformity before we could do that. So that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure, because 2011, that's what I was coming at. You know what they did? There were some areas where they intimidated the opposition agents. You go and read the report, where they just left everything, the boxes, and went their way. So now the boxes were left at the mercy of the APRC supporters or agents and whoever was transporting it. And there were some constituency, some polling stations where you know what they were telling them? Oh, you guys escort your own box, we'll escort our own box. When everything was supposed to be transported together with the agent sitting there looking at it. So if I'm transporting my own box, I can go and switch it anywhere on the way and go. So this were the issues. So that's why the opposition must be very vigilant. Don't wait until elections are here and start making all this noise. You have to be strategic to make sure that at least the credibility of the elections are protected so that we'll have everything. But we are not going to sit here and wait until elections are over, Barrow wins or whoever wins, and then we hear people talking about elections in Kosacha. No.
Let me say this before. I mean, Juka is here, but I just want to say
I'll have to be running by 3:15. Now I'll stay for 3.
I hear all of you that the vote should be protected. There is already 900,000 voters in the register. That's not going to change. There is going to be supplementary registration of people. Attestation, I hate it. It can be very fraudulent, but it's constitutional. It's in the electoral laws. We can challenge it for the opposition to win. Yes, we have to be very vigilant, but we also have to do a lot more than just being vigilant. I'm a pragmatist. I said that. This is what I told Karamba on another WhatsApp group when we were kind of looking into the possibility, the pathway to victory. The only data that we have is the election results of 2021. Now, you can question the results all you want, but those are the results. In URR, as a region, Barrow got 75,378. The second person was the United Democratic Party, Mr. Dabo. He got 9,000 votes, 9,902. Mama Kande got 9,805. Khalifa Salah, 2,855. Then Abdullah Jame, 1,500, and then 1,000. You see that gap. If you don't have a strategy to narrow that gap, come December 6th, we will be whistling Dixie. But then the die would have been casted. That's the reality we are confronted with. Come to CRR. I'm a CRR, Central River. That's where I'm from. Barrow got 68,500 votes. The closest was Mr. Dabo, 22,185. Mama Kande, 10,000. Look at the gap. If you don't have a way of narrowing that gap, go to NBD. Same old, same old. By the time we get to the urban areas, the guy would have pulled such a gap. To close it is going to take a lot. These are the facts. We can have our old feel-good way of coming up with a strategy just to feel ourselves good about it. We sit down and we deal with these facts. Yes, we're going to protect the vote. We do it better if we work together. That is the reality. But su fekkee ne dañ bàyyi noonu leen rek gorogo gongo gong naka la ko olof yi de waxee
Boti doma.
du fi yomba de. It ain't gonna happen.
So Musa, go back to URR, for example. Did you say 75,000?
Yes. 75,378. That's what Barrow got.
Okay.
Mr. Dabo second, 9,902.
That's huge.
Then Mama Kande, 9,805. Dude, it's data. It's stubborn. That's what we have to confront if we want to bring about change. We can talk about everything that we want. My guy is going to win. Everybody believes that their guy is going to win. I support the movement, and I want to believe that the movement can win. But I believe that the shortest way for the movement to achieve its goal is to sit down with people and come up with a framework and agree in a strategy and a platform that they can sell to the Gambian people. That's how victory can be achieved. Kenen kula waxut lolu daf lay wax lu ko neex rek. And we will be disappointed from December 6th. Juka Sise, my fana sister. I'm gonna have to accuse Nala. Ngane Barrow must go. Manela, show me the beef. All I'm seeing is the framework. I am beginning to see that you are putting the beef. And I like that.
Lord Jesus.
Let him not trick you in his shenanigans.
I'm not.
Now, hold on a second.
Hold on.
You are upright. You're very, very smart. You stand your ground. You speak without someone trying to bamboozle you into his mindset of the reality. Okay. So please
mindset.
go ahead.
Focus mindset. Focus like
So,
nuyu naa leen.
Fay naa la.
Yeah, Uncle Coach nuyu naa la.
Jërëjëf fana sister bi jonk anti Juka.
Nuyu naa suma noon yi tamit.
bari nga ci noon fi mu nekk de.
Ay ma xam loolu moo tax ma nuyu leen. Yeah, waaye maa ngi déglu seen analysis yi. Especially yéen ñaar ñi fi ngeen daanale, I think all those are points yoo xam ne foog ñu bàyyi si xel. Voter registration bi ñi gaay di isi waaye man li ma dee wax mooy liñ isi nit pour ñu vote mënuñoo ëppa ñi dëkk si réew mi. Luñ dugal ay nit si boos pour ñu ñëw vote mun nañoo yaaxa waaye mënuñoo ëppa ñu dëkk si réew mi. Te foog naa ne I wish ne opposition parties yi lii nekkoon na loo xam ne dinañ si doon liggéey at yi nii yëpp together ñoom yooyu dafa waroon a nekk seen focus before electoral reforms yi ba nga xam ne suñ demee si registration bi am na benn waaye mu ngi éegoon keroog si TikTok bi moom ay si la daan liggéeyal mu ngi wax ne nit mun naa ñëw laakut benn local language clearly mu tee kayit di nga xam ne kii Guinée la jógee wala beneen dëkk la jógee but by law mun loo ko correction mun loo ko wax ne ko doo ko register because dafa isi kayit mu teg ko right te foog naa ñooñu dañ leen waroon a dooleel ba nga xam ne suñ gisee loo xam ne dafa tey xel war nañoo mun a taxaw interview ñooñu vet leen out xam nga so at least ñu block leen ñoom ñu dem si ut yeneen sarta yoo xam ne mooy ñëw dëggal ñoom seen tànka wala seen taxawaay wala seen de fact ne ñu ngi wax ne ñoom doomi réew mi leen but loolu sax defuñ ko ok but fi ñu nekk nii léegi lan la nit mun a def because foog ñu xool tamit ñun lan lañ mën a def mënuñoo toog di wax ne li gars yi waroon a def ak yooyu waaye lan lañ mën a def jamono bi hopefully ñoom dinañ def liñ war a def opposition bi when it comes to that because foog nga try pour nga am level playing field soo ko amutee nag ok we move now as far as numbers yi nga doon wax Musa I agree with you because boo xoolee 2021 nga xool election results yi di nga xam ne Adama Barrow soo ko seetloo sax fi mu nekk nii faalewut ñu nekk si combo area bi they are not part of his campaign. They are not part of his problems. Because xam na ne foofu pour mu win fa lu bari dafay jafe Adama Barrow fu mu focus mooy si obbi and he's doing that strategically comme li nga wax am na place yoo xam ne boo fa demee yaa ngi fa gis ay 50,000 votes 40,000 votes moom su demee foofu yëpp daf ko dee gagné te ni mu koo gagné comme li nga wax du dee nekk ndanka so opposition bi dañ war a focus a lot si area boobu noonu. When it comes to ñu nekk si combat bi, I believe ne most of them have been sensitized enough pour ñu understand ne Barrow nekkul di deliver te Barrow nekkul di leen defal li nga xam ne ñoom loolu lañ soxla. Majority of people si city bi si boori combo area bi, most of them xam nañ loolu already. Waaye problème bi fi mu nekk nii mooy fan mooy si kaw gi si dëkki kaw yi foofu la problème bi nekk te ñoom ñëpp foofu lañ war a focus seen énergie bi. foofu la gars yi ñoom ñëpp collectively foofu lañ war a focus seen énergie bi boobu benn la beneen bi mooy comme li nga wax foog gars yi ñu ñëw together suñ fi buggee génnee Barrow pour ñu génnee fi Barrow without ñu ñëw together su fekkoon ne seen élection bi si cité bi rek la nekk no problem it's possible waaye because of kaw gi foofu la problème bi di nekk kon foog gars yi ñu ñëw together. It doesn't need to be all of the opposition parties supporters. I mean, all of the opposition parties, no. But at least dafa war a nekk opposition party yoo xam ne taxaw nañ nit ñi xam nañ lañ pour ne suñ ñëwee together dinañ fi mën a génnee Barrow ñu ñëw together comme li nga wax ñu teg dara si table bi loo xam ne is democratic ñëpp mun nañ koo nangu. Because tamit mënuñoo nekk di def di dali di delluwaat comme 2016 li fi xewoon te nit ñi nag buñ koo wax man foofu laa di am ak problème ak UDP. Because man dama dóor mu daanu te ñoom bëgguñ loolu te most of them foog naa dañ foogoon ne ñun dañ taxawoon rek pour ne Barrow na dem déedéet Barrow na dem waaye léegi naka la ñoo def ba nga xam ne Barrow na dem number one number two Barrow su demee lan moo fee nekkaat loo xam ne dafa jubanti réew mi kon foog ñu waxante dëgga duñ mun a nekka comme ni ko faana di wax di nuppal affaire bi ñu continuer dem ba si cappaandaw li ñu end up the same situation bu ñu nekkoon in 2016 after election bi bu mu passé kon lépp luñ war a def dañ ko war a teg ba mu leer nañ si kaw table bi te dañ ko war a ñeme te activiste yi bokk nañ si ñu nga xam ne they are responsible pour ñu taxaw wax ko sa ngi wax yii nii because if not askan bi duñ taxaw di ko wax te UDP lenn laa seetlu si ñoom képp koo xam ne taxaw nga challenge lañ nga wax yow sa mind rek yow you are not for them anymore yow you are a bad person and it's not like that because ñun musu ñoo taxaw ñu ne ñoom lañ taxawal wala parti bi lañ taxawal parti bi lañ taxawal kum neex nga bokk si parti coach mu ngi ni activiste la waaye dafa bokk si political party kenn daf ko rey déedéet waaye comme man ak ñeneen ak ñeneen ñu ma xam ñun lu ñu ñor mooy naka lañ fay génnee Adama Barrow te suñ gisee loo xam ne dañ ko teg te mun foog nañ ne gëm nañ ne lii mënu fee génnee Adama Barrow dañoo taxaw ne wax ne lii gëmuñ ne mun na fee génnee Adama Barrow di continuer di jël suñ boppay di ko def si biir suufi salañ si di ànda bañ egga foofu fi ñu war a egga Adama Barrow duma ñu toog di wax ne foul play kon ñun la ne parce que 2021 lii moo fi amoon so foog ñu waxante dëgga Gambia du neex nag du neex du yomba de pour ñu koy wax nit jël bulet bi yow ñu ŋàññal nekk di la ŋàññal lu fu nekk ñu la fa dëkkal di la saaga di la xas di la taf di la AI di la XZ lu nekk ñu koo def niti waaye jàmm yi daf ñu ko war a jaral su fekkee ne ñun daf ñu ko jaraloon ñu taxaw def ko si jàmme mu jaral ñu ko ñu taxaw def ko si Barrow kon keneen ku mën a ñëw taxaw daf ñu war a jaral ne ñu taxaw wax dëgg ba rek ngir yàlla tax suñoo dee sax dañ koo wax suñoo dee si dugga si biir bàmmeel bi sax dëgg la ñoo dee waaye du nekk ay wax yi naxate man foofu laa toll fi mu nekk nii opposition bi mun nañoo ñëw together taat wil mun naa am UDP man dara xam naa ko si ñoom fépp fuñ bokk dañoo wax ne ñoom ñooy jiite mbir mi parce que loolu mooy history man sosaluma leen dara li fi am laay wax yéen mi nga xam ne yéen a fekkee woon jamono naat yéen mun ngeen a toog ngeen explain ko Gambien si te su fekkoon ne dañu isil a different alternative pour nga xam ne ko mooy jiit seen parti bi nit ñëpp ñëw together kon dinañ mun a góom ne suñ ñëwee together lépp luñ war a teg ñu teg ko si ko nangu
Yes, young for Juka went for a minute. Pasamba,
No.
really, again, for me, these are the facts. It doesn't take much. People are saying that the numbers I'm quoting they are incorrect. Go on the IEC website.
Those are the correct numbers. And here is the thing, though. How do you narrow that gap, Siboka?
Mm-hmm.
You also have to interrogate the Barrow numbers too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where his vulnerability comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Moine, you had a lot of people who voted for Barrow who were not necessarily Barrow.
Yes.
Will Barrow be able to get those votes again?
Exactly.
And how does the opposition also make sure that those voters who were so dissatisfied, but then they, oh, I'm going to vote for this person or whatever. So I think that if you have a coalition, I know you're talking about your movement, but I believe that if you have a coalition that includes DOI and UDP in it, whoever joins them, whether it's your movement or whoever, you have a greater chance of getting all those votes to come in. So there should be some amount of work and sacrifice that is necessary. And this is where I want to challenge two people. Ñoo xam ne ni out of the opposition, fu mu nekk nii, I don't think there are two people who have given more to Gambia than Ousseynou and Khalifa. And that does not mean to reduce the other ones, because ñoom ñoo nekk ci forefront, so I just have to mention their names. They have sacrificed everything over the past since Jammeh will power to get more power. And I believe maybe ñoom ñaar should make it their legacy. Now the last thing, their last act, because to me, I believe whether they run for office or don't run for office, 2026 is the last one for them, because I don't see them or anybody listening to them running 2031. It's over. Yeah. Our legacy to two of us, Moy, how do we, for once again, we've tried it in 2006, it didn't work. We tried it 2016, I'm going to change why the desired result, what people wanted, did not happen. How do we make it our legacy to make sure that we will give the Gambians one more chance to right the wrongs of this nation, to put this country on a greater path? Isn't the key, what's his name? The guy that died in Kenya, Raila. One thing that Raila was able to do for Kenya was when he was part of that government of unity, NECA Prime Minister. His focus was, we have to have a constitution that would lead this country forward. And the constitution began Kenya and claim the Gambia copy one. Is Raila's lasting legacy. Because his focus was, we have to have a constitution that would speak the language of the Kenyan people, that would at least serve as like a guard and fences to our country, so that this abuse by the authorities will be a thing of the past. I believe that if there are two people, based on their popularity, their principles, the respect that they have in that country, I think two people, if they were able to come together, they will be able to help Gambia finally put on the path being need to happen. Who is going to lead it? That is up to the people.
Question, madam. Okay, so Bala UDP don't task. Man, I was one of the people who believe ne definitely coalition bu munti am UDP suñ ci bokkute du baax, because by numbers man duma dewa based on emotions and all these things that a lot of us sometimes do, right? Why strictly based on data and information bu nekk suñ kanam objectively, because ñun we want a desired result lañu ut te loolu soo ko def foog nga xool data and numbers without any sentiments or attachment. So before Lolu, that was my belief. Now the question is UDP tasna. How much la tas? We don't know, because data collecting any data since Limo happened. But judging by what we are seeing, my belief, my belief is there has to be a third will, def coalition, to give us a chance in winning. Because if not, option buñ am to fake ne UDP ak doyla, will UDP allow anybody else to lead that coalition? Based on history I don't think that's happened. Like, my question to you is, do you think the UDP didn't allow anybody else for new lead coalitions to non them? Number one. Number two, if they do not allow anybody else, that means the nyom Uncle Usain Moy lead coalition be. Do you genuinely believe he can actually win Barrow? Dina muna indi that those independent voters yi nga xamne mom lañ soxla pour close that gap.
So, no, Juka, before coach comes in, I have a clarification question because man badi bunkala. I don't speak all of that clearly. So what is your meaning of TAS? Man, I think I just kind of want
TAS more they're disenfranchised. Basically, it's not something has shake, yeah.
Okay,
so
thank you.
This is what I would say instead of TAS. am na ñoo xam ne si UDP fedd nañ géew.
Wow, mooy TAS rek.
Wow. So here is the thing. There is something that Musa Jeng wrote the other day on Facebook. I don't comment on his, but I see what he writes. And I think that is very fundamental in whatever negotiations that people are going into. We cannot go into the negotiations saying that my guy has to lead it. It has to go through a process. And man, I believe if the opposition come together and go through a process, tangible agreement bi nga xamni nit ñi gis nañ ko xam nga 2016 there were things that were rushed because time amuton, like Moses was saying.
Yes.
Okay. So man, I believe the opposition stands a greater chance with a united front than a third rail. A third rail, yes, would be competitive, but there are no guarantees. Your greatest guarantee of defeating Barrow will be a complete a grand coalition of all these parties to bopam. Whether ndax Ousainou ko lead, ndax Saria na ko lead, ndax Musa Jeng ko lead, that would be something that would be decided there. Will UDP agree doing ko lead or whatever? What I believe moine, based on the results of the last elections, it is evident that UDP cannot win on its own. Doi cannot win on his own. Mama Kande cannot win on his own. No other political party, opposition party can win on its own. What thing needs to happen more? The same formula that was used, like let's say 2016, in determining the leadership can be used. And if the UDP are able to convince other parties to vote for their candidate, we should respect the process. That's what I'm saying. But I don't believe it should be done where you just go and say, you know what, if I don't lead it, it's not going to happen. Then you're not calling for a coalition of a grand coalition of political. You are asking for people to join you. So, man, the coalition that I believe in as a member of a political party is a program-led coalition where we'll come, have our agreement, we'll all subject ourselves to the process, and whosoever is selected will be supported by everybody. And what I believe, Moine, whether it is Halifa Sallah or Ousainou, if Ousainou is backed by the whole opposition, he has a great chance of defeating Barrow. That is without a doubt. Just like if Talib is backed by the whole coalition, he has a great chance of defeating Barrow. The governments just want unity. And I think if they have the unity,
okay, so
we have everybody in it, we'll vote for you.
And that brings my question of voter confidence, because you need that, and also the trust factor. And this is where I'm going to get a lot of people not happy with me, which is okay. I'm used to it now, right? Based on what happened in 2021, as you know, a lot of people did a protest vote, and it was protest vote against UDP and Uncle Ousainou because of the 3 years Jotna situation, or the 3 years, 5 years situation, right? So, and those are independent voters. Those are not UDP diehard supporters or political party voters. Those are independent. Sen yo neko si politik bem jot rek mi dem sani gi dem sen yo. A lot of them did a protest vote in 2021 against Uncle Ousainou and UDP because of what happened. Now, if there's a coalition and he happens to lead it, are those people going to change their mind, or are they going to still hold on to what they believe in 2021?
Well, you're asking me to make come to a conclusion.
No, that is more like a question, Bohamne.
No, here's
what I us to think through it, right?
No, this is how I am here. This is how I'm going to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
when that happened, there were a lot of people who blamed the UDP for the breakup of NAD. Isn't that true? Most of you were here. And that led to people sitting on at their homes and not voting. And that was why 2011, when people saw two camps, they said, we are not going to waste our time. They did not vote. They sat home. Jammeh won with 73 or 72% of the votes. Usaino had 17%, Ahmadba had 11%. You remember that?
I remember very well.
When 2016 happened, even though it was led by a UDP candidate, but the mere fact that Gambians saw a Halifa Saleh in that campaign, and OJ Jallow in that campaign, and Ahmadba in that campaign, all these parties together in that campaign, they were seeing one team. So, man, I believe that if there is one team, this is me, I may be wrong. If they see one candidate backed by all the major parties, and then you come to the people and say, you know what? These were the same mistakes that we made. You have to be honest with the Gambian people. In 2016. This time around, fee, let's make adjustments so that we will not repeat those mistakes again.
Thank you. Taking responsibility, but that is not happening, it looks like.
No, so pull bill coalition, we are going to look at everything that we have to put on the table. I've always emphasized, even time Jammeh. Neman, I believe that time, my belief was whenever you have the UDP and DOI in a coalition, Jammeh is toast. I always said that. But I always doubted that was going to happen because of history. 2016, it happened. And let's hope, for the sake of the Gambia, we will be able to put all the emotions aside and look at the bigger picture. Now, is it worth us giving this another try, learning from the mistakes of 2016, and coming up with a formula that will not only defeat Barrow, but also put us in a path of redemption for our country? So that's my thing. I don't know. Man, I've always said that I'm not going to waste my time in this. I have no interest in no, go ahead.
No, I just want to add something to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a known fact. All of us have spoken here saying that 2026, one party cannot win alone. There should be a coalition. And the coalition building is not easy. There is going to be negotiation. I hesitate to preempt, to say somehow someone who's been chosen, that somehow there's going to be, you are disadvantaging, or you are ruling that person out from the negotiation table. And maybe, and I might be wrong, but maybe you're shutting a door for a longer conversation that's going to bring every mind together to charter a path that's going to lead us to victory. I want everyone to exercise restraint here, because yes, the negotiations are ongoing. We haven't even sat down with all the political parties to negotiate. But somehow singling out someone and say, oh, maybe there's a protest. I really want to be, I want to caution everyone to be careful about that, because that kind of closed doors for further negotiation that's going to bring us to victory. That's what I wanted to add.
But Sarian, you are right. You are right. That comment belongs to me probably. But realistically speaking, we also cannot forget what happened in the past. This is history. This is data that we are putting on the table as we discuss what is possible, right? So it's not because the new top reg, new halar reg, or new ginta reg, lead or something, because historically we've seen this has been a problem, right? And I was talking to someone, and maybe you guys can enlighten me a little bit. UDP not be bimtase, because after nyom lan def, then them knew them and Ahmadba back in 2006 or whatever. You guys can educate me on that.
That is correct.
Right. Okay. So what I'm saying is mun nañoo wish am wishful thinking. Ñun ñëpp luñ bëgg mooy ñoom ñëpp ñu nekk benn. You put a viable candidate, Adama Barrow, and then changes happen, and none of the mistakes that were made wouldn't be repeated again. This is all of us, our wishful thinking. Looking at the reality now is a different situation. Feel objectivity they knew it in. Because it's just about passion and sentiments and what we desire. We could all sit here and say together and you gain if Adam about. That is a beautiful thought, right? But the reality is how what is the history? Lan lañ them through in 2006, lan lañ them through in 2016. Pour ñu mun a toog ñu xalaat ne ok these are the possibilities ba pare yéen ñëpp ñun ñëpp xam nañ ne dafa jafe pour oncle Halifa mu ñëwaat mu toog ak oncle Ousseynou Dabo ak everybody else benn table pour ñu nekk benn añ la ñu waxante dëgg because of li fi xew.
Yeah, but it's not impossible though. That's
No. Possibilities are the sky is limitless. Everything is possible. Right?
Juga. I xam nga bu ma fi maa ngi la wax ne. And Musa can attest to that. I've always seen, leading to, in fact, 2016 elections. I don't see DOI and the UDP coming together. I've always maintained that.
Oh, I didn't even hear that. See, I didn't even know you say that.
That was leading to.
Let me.
Because I have to go now, and then of course that happened. But even Hambiri politics is very fluid.
Okay.
2006, Ahmad Ba was with Ousseynou. That's where Amadou was to 2000.
Okay, let's always fulfill then.
You just want to listen to what you want to hear. I mean,
who is that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why coach Agmusa? Huh?
Let him finish.
Coach, man dem si coach. Hola, nee am wishful thinking ñu am jorta bu rafet ñoom ñëpp dinañ ñëw together dinañ fi génne Barrow. C'est fini. Li la ñu bëgg a dégg. Kon
it's not about jorta. It has to come. Let me say this. I just want to say this to you correct ba dem. Man Samba Jawde man. Count me out. Like I've said that before in building a coalition. That's not me. I'm not interested in that anymore. Whoever is interested can do that. But what I'm saying, Moine, at the end of the day, for coalition building is the most difficult thing. Anyway, in this country. So we have to have people who are willing to talk to people, to bring them together to make it happen. Man may have put myself out from that a long time ago, and good luck to Musa Jang a guy.
Hanga uncle coach. The fact that a coalition building is the most difficult thing. And then it always was difficult before 2016. And finally, because of everything that we were all going through in 2016, alhamdulillah, it happened, even though it was very unfortunate. Right? So it ended up happening. Now, the fact that a lot of things happen leaves a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouth. So we are outsiders. What we would want is for them to come together. Ñam dal nak ñom ñoy sét ndax ñom dinañ ko mëna sort out within them. Fofu la reality bi nekk te fofu lañ wara gestuwaat. Ñun ñëpp ku nekk li nga ñaan mooy ñun ñëpp ñu mëna ñëw together ñu génné fi Adama Barrow. Waaye foog ñu xool reality bi mëna naïf rek continuer di wax. Loolu moo tax ma ne now two things can happen. It's either coalition ñaaka am ku nekk demal sa bopp Adama Barrow mu gañe ñu, or ñu explore a possibility of a third will, which is most likely, it's probably going to be easier to happen than a coalition of all of them, including UDP. Now, when you talk, okay, they are part of the process. Process. Yes, you can bring them on board. Conversation. But at the end of the day, we have all our eggs in one basket. Without them, without UDP being in the coalition, nothing can happen. Without Key, coalition, nothing can happen. Because then we all going to just fold our hands and lose. So let's explore, let's think about different options, just in case you meet up with, you come across like a roadblock somewhere, which is possible. Because of history, I'm on 2016 at yep, man fofula they were. And then man Daniel fi ma dem suma yoon dal ma ngeen jégal ma
I'm going to what binda
one would say for the opposition to win, they have to do extremely well West Coast region. Let's look at the data from what happened West Coast in 2021. Adama Barrow pool 141,972 West Coast. Ousseynou Dabo second, pool 105,076 votes. Mama Kande, 56,000 votes. Halifa Ababakar, 10,000. Esafal, 6,000. That's how it came out. And our banking is, for the opposition to win, we have to narrow the gulf in the provinces, in the rural areas. We narrow it very seriously. And I think it's possible because data has also shown from Cyprus that 60% of the Gambian people electorate, they don't want Adama Barrow to win. And if he runs, they are going to vote against him. So the 141,000 that he got in 2021, I know that the numbers are not there anymore. The question is, how do we shift the gears? And this is where the strategy comes in. There are two proposals that came out of this discussion. One, a unity of all the political parties. We all understand the difficulty. Nehut. For Usainu and Halifa and all of those guys, if they were to come together, then there will be a real coalition. Absolutely. But I know that is a very gigantic problem. Is it possible? It's very possible. It all depends. The principles, are they really willing to do it? And what's the price for that? To sit down and convince everybody else we're willing to do it. It's the sorest way. Motanyom Adama Barrow. That is what they're afraid of. They know if the parties come together, their history. They know that. Now, Juka said something, a third real. You see, the political terrain has changed. When you have 60% of the voters are under 35 going down, the political terrain of 2006, 2011, that's not the Gambia that is there. It has changed. So there are young voters that are out there that could make the difference. Now, if we call all the parties, now let's sit down and have a coalition. We have a platform that we all share, and we have a process in place. Whoever wins, we will back that person. If it happens to be Mr. Dabo, I think he can win. If everybody backs him, everybody. And we have a message that we're going to put out there to the Gambian voter. Is possible. But if you were to tell me, I am very skeptical whether something like that is going to happen. Is it possible? Yes. So let more get possible. And that is where the third rail comes in. NPP think they touch. UDP believe that they can win it alone. Then you have these parties, they come together and said, you know what? We want to get away from this NPP UDP thing. We want to bring the change and we take the message to the Gambian people. Nyari affaire moy muna am. Either Gambians will vote for this new path, or they will be so competitive that can give UDP an edge to win. You can win in a scenario like that. Don't fool yourself one bit, because they're banking on a base that will come and vote for them no matter what. So if you have a third force, that will take a lot of votes away from
Musa. Koji is on the other line and it looks like he's echoing. He's on a private conversation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hold up. I'm calling him.
No, mute nako.
Okay, all right.
So Sadi Amfimawa he moy Juka. Moine, if we have a third force, and I mean, let's be specific. Like bunyan lam lame waji. If we have the movement,
exactly, because Pogna all the possibilities. Answer the solution.
And some of these new parties, they come together, agreed, you know what, the country needs change. We need to salvage it. We need to bring a new way of doing business and rally the young people. Nobody would doubt nay. They will be very competitive. Out of that, they will take a lot of votes from Barrow, because Barrow votes, I mean, they are very soft, absolutely very soft. If that were to happen, the third option could win in a close election. If that happened, there is also a possibility that UDP could sneak a win. It's possible. I will not dismiss it. For me, that's the only path that I could see even UDP winning. Now, if all the parties could make a demand sabopa, the movement come up with Taliban Suda, SFL runs, Mama Kande runs, Alaji Usainu run, Barrow runs, I don't see how we can win. I don't see it. Is it possible? It's possible.
So Musa,
much more challenging. that is why constitution debate, I kept saying, let's have an insurance policy in our back pocket. Let's have the 50+1 and let's have term limit. And my point was just this, parties cannot come together, but if it is a 50+1, kuneka munda run, and the two that will come out, a second round of voting, and then the opposition can win. But people were all, the Barrow papers, or this or that.
It's not that. Quit litigating the past. That's a foregone conclusion. Let's speak about the current issues right now. You keep going back. I mean, come on, man. Come on. No, one day you keep going back. We didn't have a new constitution. We found ourselves where we are today. Let's talk about the current issues and how we could mitigate it.
That's what I said, though. I have articulated the two options that are out there.
Okay, thank you.
These are the two scenarios that we have to deal with.
Excellent.
I think that all of us should answer ourselves to data.
I agree with Juka. There is one thing Juka said. Just what? Lola wahde te lola gum, and that's what we need to do. We need to dal, exercise some restraint. There's negotiations. I think if we all sit down and say we care about the country, we need to get disposed of Barrow. One thing that might work in 2021 might not work this time around, but we need to have negotiation. You're not going to have everything your way.
Sir, can I come in 2 seconds?
Yes.
2 seconds. Noise because Musa I'm important. So I think looking at those two, since Musa didn't feel lay out, if you're looking at things objectively with no sentiment, emotional attachment, I'm solo. Because with this Lumusawa, it gives us 2 times the chances for Nimuna Guinea Adam Barrow instead of just one possibility. Because you were talking, you had Nipneka Bena, Bob Moy one possibility, but Bob non Sufiki and Munta Am. Then second option be Moy, need them, nearly them. Why either ways, nearly Munano win, let's say coalition, a third will be Muna win, well, UDP you win. Either way, Armaboro will get out of there. Listen, this Gambians is so hard, correct? Hold the next coalition or the next UDP accountable, then I'm ling sohla. So for me, actually, Lee jox nañu ñaari options pour ñu fegéene Adama Barrow waaye suñ la mee suñ loxo yi ñu toog benn coalition amut ba léegi Adama Barrow mooy toog what is at stake risk bi dafa high so su fekkee risk dafa high foog nga seet solution practical solution ni ñoo def ñu génnee fi Adama Barrow man loolu laa gisee lu mu
wallahi dinaa la wa fii nii ne there is ways and there is works in play that's going to ensure that Adama Barrow is disposed of. And some of us, and I see my sister there, Anita, saying, oh, it's now February. This is not about UDP for me. 2026 will be very, very different. I want to have a seat at the table. I want to be able to speak independently without leaning to any party. And that's why I exercise restraint. And I will continue to do that. This has nothing to do with UDP. But what I'm trying to say though is, there are certain things you cannot say. You have to know, no matter how you are opinionated, we got to work together. And at the end of the day, we need each and every one from all the parties to say, sit on the table. This is what government is. You cannot. You just articulated data. You just said it. So with that, in a position whereby we sit in the room, how can you convince me otherwise that the data that we pull somehow that is satisfactory rolling over 2026? And I think that's where negotiation comes in play. And that's why we need to talk. And that's why we need to see eye to eye. Regardless, it's difficult because I think another 5 years for Barrow pose a significant threat to the Gambians and their well-being. And if anyone thinks that's a joke and you're not going to compromise on that, I really don't see. These are folks that sat down and dispose one of the brutal dictators out of Gambia. I think it can happen. And I'm optimistic. And I'm going to take 2 months to go to Gambia 2026.
And I will hit every door, and I will negotiate. I will talk to the right people to ensure that we come together. That is the path I'm going to take. I slept over it, I think about it, and that is what I will do moving forward.
Yay, Syrian for president. No, Syrian. I think that's commendable, and I think nobody done this before in the past. Unfortunately, they've always been met with obstacles. But in 2016 again, obstacles you take aside, you want to move on together. But again, we hope and pray. We hope and pray. Put a process in place boo xam ne is democratic fair ñu fi génnee Adama Barrow ñun ñëpp loolu moo ñu tax ñu yaay fi Barrow ne Barrow dem man Barrow na dem. And this was one of the things, Musa, if you remember in the meet or whatever I watched the more. We knew that we had to settle that people all along for shenanigans will happen. Before even UDP guy is sending to Nekadi wa da wala ñeneen Nekadi jóg di wax yéen a ngi doon continuer seen show bi few other people ñoo daan def shows, right? Kii bokkoon na si naka tuddaati Sehu Sedili and other people dañoo def shows. But then also we realized ne ñun tamit foog ñu jóg as activists independently bokkuñ benn political party ñu jóg ñu wax pour askan bi eew, and we've been doing that. And thank God today, Gambians su bari xam nañ corruption bi nekk di xew si biir réew mi because of people like yéen, people like BMG, and people like ñoom Ben ak let's say Musa kii naka tuddaati Mustafa and all these other people ñoom Omar.
Yeah. So, Sarian.
And there was another thing, Musa, I wanted to, before Juka leaves, there was, this guy was my friend. I mean, he worked for the IEC as how registration, plays out. And I was talking to him when I got off, and he was explaining to me about things that Coach was saying earlier, and Juka. One thing he mentioned was, as an interviewer, I mean, the person that is working for IEC, if someone comes to a certain constituency and have their documents, his or her documents, and say, I want to register, the interviewer should have a set of questions as the individual and say, hey, for example, if he says, I'm from Badibu and, Saba, and the interviewer asks him or her certain questions, the interviewer has the right to deny that individual. Now, what happened is if say, hey, based on the answers that you gave me, we are very unsatisfied. You don't meet the criteria. That person can go to court. But what he also confessed to me was that individual can turn around and go register another constituency. So I think where the opposition needs to come, the meat of the minds is, how do you mitigate that? If someone comes to Joe Swang and the interviewer says, hey, based on everything, we don't think you meet the criteria, you cannot register. Then he turn around and go to Carnifin South. What are the controls in place to ensure that that person, don't do that? So that's what he says. That's where I think the opposition need to mobilize and form committees to ensure that didn't happen. Because if one area says you don't meet the criteria, that person should not go to another area to register. But how you do that, that is $1,000 question that people need to kind of reflect on. I just want to share that.
You see, whatever strategy we're going to use to be able to address the issue that you raised, Sarian, I think it starts with basically coming together. I think that would be the first thing to happen. And that's what we need to keep pushing. Again, I'm going to go to North Bank region. People will say, but that's what we have to keep doing. Let's look at the data, what transpired. And with that, at least all of us, we will be humble enough to be able to come down and genuinely discuss how we can come together. North Bank region, Adama Barrow, 56,861. Mom la am. Mr. Dabo, 26,191. Mama Kande, 9,453. Halifa Salah, 2,606. Esafal, 1,966. Abdullah Jame, 1,291. Those were the results from NBR. So my obsession is in the rural areas, and the gap. And how do we narrow that gap? Based on the latest polling from Cyprus, it is not impossible because people have seen Barrow for 5 years and everything that he said in 2021. Now, does he have something to run on? You better believe it because he has done things in those communities. Anybody who dismisses that, then you're living in La La Land. He has. He can go to CRR and say, this is what I did for you. They are going to use patronage. They're going to use ethnic affiliations. They're going to do that. The question is, what are we going to do? If we all connect at Demal Sabopa, I seriously, yalla nak, comme li gaay de wax rek moy falé definitely ñu né results xëñ na yalla bind na ko ca aras ñun ñoo fi nekk rek di wax maybe it's possible way gënaaw ñun duñ yalla I have to believe ne if each party going on its own let's see how we can defeat this guy there.
Musa, I want to challenge your argument. Yalla boy fare bon Musa horde. No. Listen. People have their minds to make their this thing. You think they with everything that is said about Yalla dina jël ku bon. No.
Lu yombala. Man xam naa ne you can dismiss that if you want, but God has a certain ways of working. Adama Barrow ko ewon because you are going to be the next president. There is not a single person on this panel or people that are watching would think that it was possible.
So then why do we bother then?
Let me I'm just saying ne.
If you believe that, why do we bother? Let's just sit home and then somebody.
Duñ mëna def lolu lima wax moy ne
wante yàlla mu ne nga dimbale sa boppa bala mu dimbale la tamit yàlla moo ko wàdde mébét bi so ñun su fekkee ne Talib Bensouda is going to be the next president and I hope he does and I hope it happens man am naa yaakaar ci loolu I am hopeful that the change we are looking for he is the vessel for that to happen so God has a way of making that happen. Now Juka is talking about the third rail. For me, it's the most, what I would say, feasible option. That doesn't mean that we cannot have a complete, the one that Sariyang is banking on. I would like to see that because that's the shortest way. And yes, Sariyang, I agree with you. Things can happen. I have heard Mr. Dabo said he is willing to work with political parties to form a coalition. I haven't heard any single party that hasn't said that. Amut kenti party ku ñëw wax that same thing, that they are willing to form a coalition with other parties. At least that's an opening. Now, how do we exploit that if all of them are saying that? Now, the challenge is the how. And I think the how we can only get to that by having a conversation. For me, for the movement, in as much as they break away from the United Democratic Party, my caution to them, and I've always said it and I will continue to say it, that they cannot make it about the UDP. If they do that, they will fail in their mission. It cannot be about the UDP. The movement, their focus should be about change and what they intend to do. Their name is to unite. You cannot say, let's unite, and then you castigate where you came from. That would be Angale or Enaga, maybe it's an oxymoron. You cannot do that. Because UDP do that. They win elections by castigating them. And Kemo said something in that interview that he is very, actually, not only open, but he believes that the movement and UDP can actually reconcile and work together. He said that. And strange things have happened in politics. I know the emotions are high. They call them, they're the betrayers. They betrayed. People use words. They're just words. They don't really amount to anything.
But is it a possibility? It is definitely a possibility. Hamga Sariang, the movement, they are also going to be taught with a dose of reality. Expectations are high. They are going to do what they are going to do. They're going to find out, comme ni Sénégalais yi di wax rek, ku nekk nga seet sa poids, what you can do. And based on that, I have a feeling that they are going to call it realistically, because they are in it to win it. They are not just in it like some of these other political parties, the Mabuga form rek, so that Mabokachi have a seat at the table and form a coalition. No, the movement is way bigger than that. It's not about that. And I have a feeling that if it comes down to reconciling and elect any of the other leaders other than the movement leader, will bring us together and will guarantee us victory, I believe the movement will go along with that. I have no doubt in my mind that they will go along with that. Because it's not just about the election of Taliban Bensouda alone and alone. No, it's not that. The movement is bigger than that. He is the leader, yes, but the movement is bigger than that. It's about giving the country a chance. It's about uniting people. It's about changing the culture of politics or how it is done. It is about changing the culture of corruption. That's what the movement believes in. The day that the movement doesn't stand for that anymore, I am not part of that movement. Seriously.
Is that the policy script of the movement?
What?
What you just said a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The movement talk about unite. The movement talk about change. The movement talk about all of us coming together to change the way the politics is done. Remember now, I do not speak for the movement. Whatever you hear here is my opinion. Whenever Kemo Bojang says, he speaks for the movement. The movement has already gotten also a spokesperson in the diaspora called Mr. Damfa. Whatever he says from this end, he speaks for the movement. Whatever Musa Jeng says on this platform, Musa Jeng is speaking for himself. And I don't shy away from speaking for myself.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just making clarification, and I'm glad that you make that distinction, right?
Seriously.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely. I don't speak for the movement at all.
Okay, that's good.
Whenever I am giving the responsibility to speak for the movement, you will know that I'm speaking for the movement. Barisani, Haniko, I don't speak for them.
Yeah, I really, I'm hopeful. And it's gonna happen, and that's why. I mean, I take a role whereby if UDP does stuff that's gonna hurt, some of the members, I call them out because I really think it's very, very important. This election is more consequential than anything, or do or die. They think it's just a slogan. It's not. But the practical challenges that face the country, we just spoke here, a president who unilaterally called someone into his office and said, doing your job, it's gonna implicate my chances of re-election.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. So I really think whatever we found, whatever personal opinion we have against Musa Jeng or Talib Bensouda or Lawyer Dabo, I really think at the end of the day, we need to transcend that. We need to be able to hug and say we're Gambians. We need to rescue our country. And that's what I'm focused on. And that's what I'll be speaking on until 2026 December. And not only will I speak up, I will be on the ground. I will knock on doors. I will negotiate. I will talk to people. I will convince people to come together because what we are facing is very dangerous. We're not going to let a president who's been sitting there 10 years, Coach just said it, there are people whose blood and treasures have vanished because of him sitting there. We got TRRC recommendation that has not been implemented. We got an anti-corruption policy that has not been implemented. So somehow, and what does he do? He hug with the party that has maimed, tortured, raped, and do all the despicable acts for 22 years of dictatorship. And he has the number 1 and the number 2 in the parliament. And somehow, us not coming together just because of our little personal grievances? Come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Brother Moron.
Give me a break.
You know, it's the, what they call it, breast cancer month. And there's something good out there coming from Global Properties. And that is, this one is strictly for women that are out there. Aneta, I know you've been, and then all the other ladies, Juka, they have something. $283 a month, you are able to get a land in Gunjur. But let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Global Properties observes Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get tested and know your status.
In honor of the fighters, survivors, and the ones we lost, Global Properties is giving access to women to own a plot of land at Greenville today.
We are making it easy. Buy a plot of land with 0 deposit and 24 monthly payment for only $20,833. Early detections saves lives.
No, Moron, that's a good deal. Seriously, and this is not just an ad. For $20,000 a month, I know maybe to an average Gambian that's a lot of money, but I mean, Sarian, I know you're taking care of Jainaba, I'm taking care of Umi, but I don't mind to say, you know what? Call Nilan, put me in there, put Umi, because I can't buy it. You cannot buy it. It has to be the wives, the women. For $280 a month, you have a plot of land, Greenville in Gunjur, for 24 months. Bro, that's a good deal. $280, Sariang, that's what you spend, Hamnasa affair, coffee, that's all you do a month.
Speak for us. Why you putting me in the crossfire, man?
I mean, and there are a lot of you out there watching the program today. You want to have a nice thing to the wifey?
No,
like,
so it's good. I love my sister. He says that's not the reality. I love your conviction, Sariang. But I tell you what.
Who's that? Who?
Anita, my sister from the UK, Anita. Man.
Yeah.
I know I read your pieces about what rural Gambia feel, but at the same time, I'm telling you right now, people are invested. For myself, I'm not gonna broadcast what I stay at, but I really think I'm very connected with the folks, and we keep talking. And I'm telling you, one thing is very, very certain. Whether election comes in, we're gonna carry that. Is that people are faced, they have real challenges. And one thing that unites Gambians is the man who is leading is not doing a very good job by every measure. Whether that momentum is going to translate to votes, I think all of us need to come together and say we cannot make this impossible. It's going to be possible. If we stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and work together, I think it's possible. If Jammeh we can get rid of Jammeh. We come together. He was killing, but you know what? There's fundamental issues right now. Someone taking our national covers and go build mansions and mansions, and you think that doesn't pose immediate danger or the immediate threat to the well-being of society? And the debt is skyrocketing. We've seen issues upon issues and upon issues. And if we cannot translate that, it's not maybe Jammeh, but there's certain things happening that we should be able to connect with folks and talk to folks and say, we deserve better. And we do deserve better. We deserve better.
Well, change is possible. Then you ñëpp xam nañ how to achieve it. I know it's not very easy. And ku ci nekk foog nga ne sa mbor mi moo bring about the change. And I understand that.
Is that it? Because Hayya ala salat, man. It's Zuhr time over here. I just don't want to broadcast it, but I'm gonna go mute for a minute.
I'm with you, Ganama Yola, and you're absolutely right. And I think we're gonna call it a day, Sariang. And thank you to all our viewers and our listeners. We're gonna come here every Sunday, and as usual, I can assure you that this is indeed an independent platform. Musa Jeng, of course, I'm going to be drumming up for the movement. But I'm not a cultist, and we're going to make analysis, because ultimately what matters more the change, really. What is it going to take for us to defeat Barrow in 2026? It's not going to be a walk in the park. That is why I kept going back, looking at these IEC results. They were stolen. People crossed from the border, and that's where the votes are coming from. But as long as we cannot stop those 900,000 registered voters from voting without making the country ungovernable, maybe we should focus what we need to do in order to be able to win, rather than things that are not under our control. There are going to be supplementary registration. That 900,000 is going to go to 1.2, you better believe it, million registered voters. And I think the movement and every other party, they should be connecting with these young people, urging them to register. It's about the numbers, my friend. The more you have young people registered and tell them why the change needs to happen, tell them why their fellow youth dying in the Mediterranean, going through the back way, and if they want to bring an end to that, this is what they need to do. They need to take responsibility by voting. There is no other way to do it. For the leaders, when you are elected to lead, then please lead. And they need to reach out to each other. Like I said, the best option for them to sit down, Fumjarnak am kukodor, and then put all hands on deck. We all want to make sure that Barrow is gone. What do we want to replace it with? I'm not interested in replacing Barrow with Talib Bensouda. I'm not interested in replacing Barrow with Alaji Usainu. I'm not interested in replacing Barrow with Mama Kande or Esafal. We are all, I hope, we are all interested in replacing Barrow by changing the way we do business to impact the lives of the people in the rural areas. They're waiting for that Messiah to come, a system in place that will change our politics, to help with the polarization, to help with the insult, to help with the yen fingen boka man fila boka. None of that. That is going to take a collective understanding, but we need people to lead it. And it's the responsibility of the political party leaders to do just that. They owe us that much. You guys went to Kairaba, and then you had a meeting. Delegates, and out of that, President Barrow was elected to do some of the things that we agreed upon. There was a betrayal, it didn't happen. I think something tells me you all can go back to the table and sit down and say, okay, we've tried it. Some of the goals that we were achieved, because Gambia clearly is at a better place than it was going all the way back to before 2016. Definitely. I mean, we have a semblance of democracy. We all know that the police state is gone. Gambians are not afraid anymore. So things were achieved. Barrow is not the one that is going to be able to take it to the next level. So why don't we sit down and put something on paper? We have 1 year for all of us to look at it and come up with and say, okay, dañoo agree ne lii ak lii ak lii ak lii ak lii la ñoo def when we take over the country. If we take that and we sell it to the Gambian people, whether it's URR, whether it's CRR, the numbers that I just quoted is going to narrow significantly. And when it gets to the urban areas, Barrow will be history. And the only way it can happen, if we sincerely, genuinely, honestly sit down without conditions to do just that. But anyone who walks into that at that table and then with a conditionality, ne manla, or do am, just going to undermine the effort. Till next Sunday, it's for the people, by the people. And I thank you guys immensely for joining us. Later.